Hello, hello. Happy Friday, everybody. Hello. Thank you guys so much. People are already tipping. Thank you guys so much for the $5, Heather and Catherine. Okay, so this is the day after Thanksgiving for those of us in America who are celebrating, or even if you're just celebrating being grateful or whatever. So I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving. I'm so grateful for you guys and for the Chaos Coven. I've gotten so many really nice messages under my videos and in my inbox over on Patreon, and I've been reading through those. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to be getting back to you guys, I promise. But Chipotle money. That's so funny. So I just want to say thank you. I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving. So today we are doing an interesting read. This was actually Alex's idea, like it came to him, and it is, what do you need to look at differently? And before we go getting into this reading, obviously there are extreme situations in life where it kind of it is what it is, even though it's very difficult, like if you are in a difficult relationship or something. And so I just want to point out that there are some situations where it's not appropriate to look at things differently. It's just important that you deal with them head on, even though it might be really hard. And so I can't help you with qualifying what kind of topics you were sent here to explore, but just don't hurt yourself with this message. Take only what's helpful, don't take what's hurtful, and just meet this message wherever it's meeting you. Take only what resonates, take only what's helpful, of course, as usual, and then just leave the rest, because there are some situations where it's just not appropriate to look at them differently, and you are looking at them the correct way, even though it might be painful, even though it's really difficult. But where we can kind of shuffle things around, then let's go ahead and shuffle things around. So as per usual, we have 3 piles, and you can be drawn into more than one pile. So the first one is the kiss. The second one is the tear. Sorry if you can see my hand shaking. I had caffeine, as you guys already know. And then the third one is the shadow. Oh my gosh, my hand is shaking from all this coffee. Okay, so those are the 3 piles. I'm going to hold them up all together. Pile number 1 is on this side, pile number 2, and pile number 3. Pile 1, pile 2, pile 3. Okay, get a good gander. And let's do this. All right. Why am I always so nervous? Oh my gosh, anxiety. All right, so pile number 1. Okay, so how can you look at this situation differently? So this card, the kiss, in this deck, for me, it's about intimacy. And whenever I'm thinking about this right now, there's that phrase, it's intimacy, into me I see. And I always think that's so cheesy, but it doesn't make it any less true. So I feel like there's something here about maybe a certain situation that you've been thinking about or reflecting about. It could be like a kiss here that you had or didn't have with somebody, but these realms of intimacy, and I am especially getting situations to do with sexuality or the sexual kind of relationships that you've had with people, whether it was full-blown romance or just sexual, however it is, but that intimate space, right? Looking at it as into me I see. And I'm noticing this here does look like an eclipse. So it's, again, it's that inner, it says a lot here about yourself. It's an opportunity to reflect instead of something more external. And I'm getting this sense here because there's all this fuzz in the background, almost like the static on a TV. And they're giving me an impression of something kind of being staticked out. And like I said, this card talks about the moment before the first kiss that you share with somebody. Do you like me too? Do you want this too? Trying to kind of figure out and negotiate the space. So I'm really getting that that's kind of some kind of a ripe ground for you to do a lot of internal processing. And yeah, Spirit is just saying when we're in that space, a lot of times we're focused on the other person, or we're focused on the relationship or our hopes and our dreams. It's such a weighty moment. But really, there's a lot of ground to be explored here about into yourself. And I'm hearing the types of people that you when, where, why and how you get involved in relationships and with who and for what reasons. Like, this actually says a lot about you and about your inner realms and about your psyche, about your, I'm hearing there's a lot of like maybe fears or illusions that kind of find their way of creeping up into the space, even if it just gives you a sense of like weightiness or like fear or trepidation or something. But I feel like you're trying to, I'm hearing the word decompress. You could be trying to decompress a situation here, or maybe some of you have used, maybe there's a certain relationship here or something. It's like you were using this as a means of decompressing, like some kind of pressure, to like offset. They're giving me like a sense of like offsetting certain pressures and stresses, mental pressures and stresses. There's a lot of mental pressure and stress that comes from within, I think, like with this group, they're trying to show you here through a particular situation. And there might have been a particular relationship or something where you feel like you got overshadowed, like, okay, so they're giving me a lot of different examples. And so I don't know, like, if this is just a lot of people who got drawn into this pile, there's, different examples for everyone that they're trying to highlight, or if this is multiple different situations that you found yourself in your life, and they're just kind of wanting you to sort of piece this together. They're giving me this picture of like Isis, and Isis puts the pieces together, and I'm just picturing Isis like leading you. You know those like Instagram pictures where somebody's like at a beach and it's like the girl in front and she's got her hand, and then the guy takes a picture and it's like she's leading them. I'm picturing Isis doing that with you, kind of leading you through this shadow realm of intimate experiences I'm really getting. So I feel like your guides are wanting you to kind of go down memory lane, really take a look at this space, but take a look at it from a different lens. And Isis is trying to kind of piece this together. And then they're showing me her like with the Libran scales, and kind of, I'm hearing like weighing your heart against a feather, but it's like kind of bringing things more into balance for you, or bringing something more into focus for you here. Because there could have been they're giving me a feeling of like a particular romantic relationship or moment where, okay, they're giving me two different examples. So one is like you could have gotten yourself into a relationship where you felt entirely overshadowed here, like by another person. And Spirit is kind of saying like, actually that's your own inner turmoil that was like overshadowing you, but it's like you've drawn it to you in an external situation. Not that you need to deal with the external situation. That's not what's being said. Like, I'm not advocating for spiritual bypassing ever, but there is a connection with this internal emotional nature. And I'm hearing the word Lilith, which is like the dark side of the moon. It's like one of the shadow points of the moon. So in astrology, but there's actually different Lilith points in astrology. But anyways, like that whole, the inequality of it, and like interesting. It's like wanting to run away from the inequality of it. But Spirit saying, don't run. Like, don't run. It's inappropriate for you to be like overshadowed and to not be seen as a weight in your own relationship or in your own life or in regards to your own decisions. Yeah, I'm just getting like a sense of selfhood. Maybe, I'm hearing Sun in Libra, which is a debilitated position. And I just heard especially for a man. So I don't know. I don't think especially for a man, but I don't know why that came through. So it's like you were asked to sacrifice something to do with the sun energy. So something to do with your selfhood, something maybe to do with career, something maybe to do with father. There was something here where it's like you should not have like maybe use that to balance out some kind of a domineering energy in a relationship. That's one example. But another example is you could have potentially gotten involved in a romantic situation. And in this case, I feel like it wouldn't have been very meaningless. It would have been fairly meaningless to you. So it could have been like, a kiss, or you got involved with somebody and it was very short term, but it was, it overshadowed who you really were to somebody that had long-term potential with, because they thought that you were this way towards them. Like you were, this dark side of the moon or something like that. So it overshadowed who you actually really are. So Spirit's saying, let's get curious about why this happens. And there, I just read one of the posts from Patrick Teehan. He's an LCSW here on YouTube, and I find him I like to look at his community posts because he makes them pretty regularly. And the one that he just did was about emotionally immature parents, and how a lot of time, one of the ways that an emotionally immature parent can kind of show themselves is that they are always talking about situations like, how things are always so hard for me, or like they know that you are being harmed by another parent or something, but they only approach it from the lens of how hard this is for me, instead of they have a responsibility. They are an acting force in their own life. So some of you maybe have taken on this quality. You feel a slave to impulse. You feel a slave to intimacy, to a particular person that you have been in a relationship with. But they're saying it's actually a slave to this emotionality that is really dense. I'm just getting that this is very, very dense. And it's Lilith in astrology, like when you have those overlays, it's very alluring. It can break up long-term relationships, and like it seems like it's a twin flame or something. But then when you get involved in it, it's incredibly immature. It is devastating. It doesn't last for very long. And it's absolutely not offering what the other thing offering you was, like this other relationship or this other person. And I'm just getting that there is a sense of maybe multiple times this happened, or maybe there's a certain time that this happened. And they're saying, do not like dismiss this as some kind of lightweight energy. Don't dismiss this as some kind of just series of external events that's not connected to an internal heart space. And I am getting a connection like to a mother energy that was perhaps very Lilith, like treated you unfairly, but then again, with that emotional immaturity of just divorcing themselves. I heard not divorcing themselves from the person who required being divorced from, but divorcing themselves from any and all responsibility. This would also be potentially like a parent who doesn't understand that they're in charge of their child's development, like from early on, that they need to be kind of guarding and caretaking and leading that experience. And instead it contributes to a sense of parentification where you felt like you had to always be the one making heavy decisions or something like that. And this somehow shows up in your relationships, and perhaps it's like I don't know, somehow I think this is like you numbing out. And that's the next thing that they're giving me, because I'm noticing like this static around here. And then they're giving me an impression of like a couple, being intimate, but like the TV's on in the background and it's like making a lot of sound and like blurring everything out. So again, and I'm hearing Netflix and chill. So for some of you, it's like, there's something here where either you really shut off, you deaded your emotional space to situations where you can't dead it. You can't dead your emotions in life. That's just a lie. It'll leak out in kind of distorted ways. It still actually maybe has more control over your actions. It's still maneuvering you. You just don't understand it. You just don't see it clearly. And so, yeah, there's needs to be like more of a conscious lens. Like maybe this is for you, maybe this is for somebody else, but they're saying it's absolutely not random. It's absolutely not an accident. Into me, I see. I'm hearing the time is now, like shine a light on here. Into me, I see, like again, I'm going to bring it back to like the people that you choose to be intimate with, when you choose to be intimate with them, why you choose to be intimate, how you choose to be intimate. All of those are huge indicators of self, of how you're feeling, of what is motivating you. Those are heavy hitting energies that if you understand them, you can actually transmute them. They're giving me a sense of just like transmutation. Now, the other thing is that, so they're giving me a sense of like, yeah, you might be saying like, oh, well, it was meaningless. Like there's some kind of situations here where, oh, it was meaningless, intimacy or whatever. But they're saying actually it had everything to do with emotions. Like whatever it was, like, yeah, like either emotions like spilled over, but maybe not in the arena that you were thinking. So you could have been using some kind of sexual experience to numb out, and it could have like it not even been another relationship rival or another relationship situation that put you there, but it was something else going on in your life. And you used that to kind of like numb out. They're saying emotions are involved. Yeah, I'm just hearing it's not meaningless. It's not meaningless. It's not meaningless. It's very, very meaningful. And there needs to be some ownership or accountability or responsibility at the very least for, like, they're not saying guilt and like making yourself wrong, but in the light of personal understanding and just understanding what motivates our behavior as adults and realizing that we are acting partners in our lives and in our relationships. And that sometimes the things that we do displace others and other people. I think for some of you, it's like, again, I don't know, like there's multiple kind of situations I feel like this could be talking about. But for others who actually are in the driver's seat of their own life, making conscious decisions, something that you did or didn't do or said or didn't say, and the timing and the reasons and the emotionality behind it that was either acknowledged or not acknowledged, affected somebody else's conscious decision making about you. Somebody who does feel like they're in the driver's seat of their own life and they're not just a slave to their emotions, and they're kind of the opposite of you. That's the balance. You have a counterweight here in some and this is in your life somewhere, I feel like in a relationship history. And for most of you, I do think it's in a romantic scenario. And I feel like, yeah, there's a weightiness to whatever this is, but it doesn't have to be. But I do feel like you've seen an opposite person who actually does take it very seriously, that they are an adult and that they are a contender in their own life, and that they're not just going to get swept away. Like, it's somebody who is, and maybe this is you, or maybe this is who you're being encouraged to become through whatever this is. Like that's kind of the end result, because I am seeing the end result being Aries. Like you should be a contender in your own life, and the choices you make in love shouldn't be a mystery to you. You shouldn't just be led by emotions that you don't understand on some level. And keep in mind, when we're talking about emotions, I'm not necessarily talking about you understand your emotions on a logical level. I'm a great example of that. I've lived that my whole life, where I can be very systematic and I have a degree in psychology and like I've studied religion, like very academically, but it does not mean that I actually have like the best handle on my own inner landscape at all times. Just because I know certain words and I can kind of logically understand them, it doesn't actually mean. It's like, I'm just picturing somebody who, like, say they study water skiing for a living, and they can tell you the ergonomics of this and the leaning of that, and you have to, at this force, like, meet the water to pop up. Doesn't mean that they can actually water ski, you know? It's completely different to learn something up through the body and to be able to actually, like, translate that into some kind of action, right? And to somebody who's already an expert or somebody who's already very good at water skiing, then perhaps like knowing these little logical things can add the minor tweaks and adjustments. They're giving me the word supplement, you know, and they're showing me the food pyramid. You take supplements, but that's it's meant to supplement your overall diet, your overall behavior. It's not meant to be the bulk of your nutrition. So yeah, they're saying it's like, okay, so that's another thing I think they would like for you to look at differently, is like the psych of it, the learning of it, you know, the study of it, reading things like How to Get the Love You Want, all of those things, like understanding kind of the nature of love from a mental place. That's the supplemental energy. That's not the work. Just because you can understand these things mentally, like, okay, I know I did this and that, like, it doesn't mean that you're actually dipping into the emotional space. And for some of you, I feel like it may be trepidatious or it may be scary to see that you were I'm like how much of a, I'm hearing like how swept away you have been, how much of a bystander. That's what it's giving me, how much of a bystander in your own life. Or that just because you have strong feelings for somebody means that you're helpless and that you have to act on those feelings. I'm hearing you get to be an adult. You can be an adult. You can make these like healthy decisions for yourself. You can process through whatever needs to be processed, but you don't have to just be on the, I think some of you had a parent like this who was just swept away or just, you know, on the winds of whatever kind of came at them in inappropriate kind of a scenario or situation. Yeah, so I'm hearing a total eclipse of the heart. Like, I feel like there was something here where it's like you had a total eclipse of the heart. And it could have been like some kind of numbing out around a sexual experience. And it might have been one like specific sexual experience. Even if it wasn't like full-blown sex, it could have been like a kiss or, again, hand holding or taking someone on a date or going on a date with somebody, like whatever it was, like it could have just been that, and it was a total eclipse of the heart, and it's not something that you should overlook. Yeah, sun energy is heart energy, it's leadership energy, it's heart energy, it's courage energy, it's valor energy. And you might notice that like you have felt defunct or like deficient in certain areas, like even in other areas of your life. But I think it has affected certain conversations here as well. So they're also saying that like whatever has unfolded from the space, I'm hearing it's not a victimless crime, and I think it has affected your communication skills or your relationship skills and what you have known to grown to expect in conversation and in relationship. They're saying you can't just be a captor to this anymore. You have to see this. You have to know that you are a contender in your own life. And for those of you who are parents, I feel like it's important for you to model to your children that you are not a bystander in your own life. No. You are a contender. You need to be demonstrating things like, I understand my emotional landscape. I understand like how I should be treated. I know how to use the resources in my community. Like it's literally, my mom used to be like, what does, if you need to check out a book, who can you ask? If you need to, if you take a wrong medicine, what do you call? Like, you know, the resources in your community, that's what adults do. They're the nexus of point of like, I know where to go to make my decisions and to reach out. All of this is very healthy. I'm hearing, yeah, for those of you who are parents, it's like, it's very important that you are not an emotionally immature parent in the way that I just described, because this could potentially be some kind of like family lineage thing that was passed down that you don't even necessarily realize as emotional immaturity. It just looks like somebody who is helpless. And yeah, I'm hearing that victim, rescuer, persecutor. The victim one, a lot of times there's like legitimate victimization, but victim, rescuer, persecutor becomes a problem when it becomes a noun. That becomes your identity. I am victim, I am persecutor, I am rescuer. No, you're not. You are you. And sometimes we're victimized and sometimes we're persecuted or persecuting. And sometimes we are rescued or we're rescuing. But those are verbs. You're not taking them on as some kind of like an identity. So you have to, I'm literally hearing victim mentality, like, but somebody who has taken this on as an identity, but is very sneaky about the fact that they have this kind of victim mentality. And I don't know if this is somebody you've gotten in a relationship with, but if it is somebody, I think I'm hearing mother, like it's somebody who it's somehow linked back to a mother, or this could be you, where it's like you feel like a passive bystander in your own life. And this doesn't have to just be in the realm of relationships. It could be career. I make stuff happen in my own life. I'm a contender. I'm somebody you need to pay attention to. I will go out and make it happen. I'm hearing it's literally because you were modeled and accepted some kind of false narrative from a mother figure who is not a victim in her own life as an adult, doesn't get a pass. None of us get a pass. Like, yes, some terrible things could have happened. This person needed to, I'm hearing, grow up. They needed to grow up, and they needed to be there for you. And some of you may need to start there with healing that like, wow, I was really let down by a person who I love a lot, but it was really unfair. And because I couldn't pin the tail on the donkey, or pin the tail on the jackass, like I like to say, it meant that like I accepted being a passive bystander in my own life in areas where I needed to be a conscious decision maker, or I needed to bring more balance. And if it's not you, then I feel like you could have attracted partners like this, or partners who, I'm also hearing like partners who, like if you have a rough family dynamic, it's like they didn't really help your situation. Their appraisal like of the family dynamic, maybe they always side with the parent that keeps you stuck or keeps you trapped or keeps you feeling impotent or like you're a bystander. I'm hearing enabling, like an enabler. But somebody here, I think, is like very conscious of the fact that they are enabling. If they're not actually just looking at the situation from an honest lens. I'm hearing truth teller. I'm hearing attack the truth teller. And it's showing me almost like an immune system response. And maybe this is something that was internalized as well. Like, you know that if you were to call out this emotionally immature parent, they would maybe throw on the waterworks or something. You need to know that you're controlled by that. That this is actually a very passive feminine way of like controlling. You might be actually uncomfortable with emotionality. Even if you feel like, no, I can get in there and I can have these kinds of conversations. When somebody really throws on the waterworks, you're uncomfortable because you think, oh my gosh, that person's being victimized. Like, my mom's being victimized all over again. Help her, help her. She needed to help herself. There's something here, and it's not necessarily like from getting punched in the face or something, like, no, but there was something here that like she could do that you as a child couldn't do. And that was never acknowledged, and you always felt the protector or something. Like, there's something here like that. I just heard the word forlorn. Like you might have felt like very forlorn because you just felt helpless. Oh, that's that helplessness because the impetus to act or to protect was in the incorrect place in your home. As a child, you were like, you kind of knew that something needed to happen action-wise. And without that happening action-wise, everybody was just sitting ducks. Like, it was just like a helpless kind of a situation. But because the impetus to act was placed on you as a child who didn't have a driver's license and a fully functioning prefrontal cortex and all these things, you kind of look at these situations like, oh my gosh, it's completely overwhelming because you're reverting back to that emotional childhood state. It's completely overwhelming when in reality, for whoever this adult was, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a mother, but if it's a father, it's like a very maternal kind of like a father figure, or it could be a grandmother. It could have been somebody you saw up close and personal, like in your home environment. Could have been an aunt that like lived with you or something, right? To that person, they had a functioning prefrontal cortex, and they did have a driver's license where they could have gone to the library and gotten a book, or they could have talked to their best friend, or they could have. You don't see that correctly, like from your own lens. So it's like, you sit at the precipice of decision making and you're like, oh my gosh. And I think this somehow plays out for you guys in romantic relationships, or this factors into the kind of partner that you've chosen for yourself. Somebody who either leads the way in that, if you've managed to like get a handle on it, or I'm just hearing there's kind of a grab bag mix of these people in your dating history. It's like peppered with people who, and I'm hearing like you really want to watch somebody who requires you to take all the actions and make all the decisions, because it gives you that sense of you were helping mom. But in reality, it's that codependency. It's because they're not taking responsibility for their own life. You're just kind of moving things around on your plate. It's not actually a help to somebody to do things for them where they should be learning how, like Jesus said, to give a man a fish, he eats for a day. To teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Yeah, like I just feel like somebody here needs to like learn how to fish. And it might be in the realm of romantic relationships. I got this new deck. It's Astro Matrix. I think it's my favorite deck. So I'm going to start pulling some cards here from this. Partners that have emotional outbursts. Yeah, and I think I'm hearing the word like stunned mullet, and I don't exactly know what that is. But I feel like if there's a big emotional outburst, either in yourself or in another partner, it's because I'm getting like for some of you, it's like you may need, somebody here is like hogging the emotional outburst energy. and I don't know if it's like you or another partner, it can go either way, where it's like there's an emotional outburst where there really actually just needs to be like ownership, accountability, clear decision making, like some kind of action, or like, I don't know what this is. You're having an emotional outburst. Okay, I know some of you are dealing with partners like this. You're having an emotional outburst when you sit on the precipice where a decision needs to be made in order, like from you. This is an Aries decision. Or like there's some kind of action to be taken. Like even if you don't know the overall decision, well, the decision needs to be made as to how you're going to figure out that decision. So you need to go to the library and research what your opportunities are. You need to go to the career counselor's office to figure out what your options are. You need to go down to the community college, or you need to go over here or over there in order to get some kind of thing. But instead, you sit on the precipice and you have an emotional outburst because this was what was modeled to you, and everybody rushed to whoever that was to their aid and assistance. So you expect the aid and assistance to come to you. That's what it is. You're expecting it to come to you, and when it doesn't, you feel slighted and you feel let down and you don't feel loved and you don't feel cared about because you spent the first, 25 years of your life just running to this person's aid who should have gotten themselves out of a hole. And nobody, I think, had enough like chutzpah to just be like, I know that this is sad for you and I love you dearly, and because I love you dearly, you need to buck it up and you need to get right on out. Like, I just feel like, and there could be something about the way this person looks, but you have to understand that person looked at you as an 8-year-old and went, you can get yourself out. like it's not acceptable. Like whatever went on, it's not acceptable. So the key is that this has to do with relationships and intimacy. And like, again, I'm like pregnant with anticipation. So I was getting this in the realm of like sexual relationships. I think that you can kind of see this playing out in that realm. But like I said, it's the moment before the first kiss. It's precipice energy. So when you sit on a precipice where it's like, you need to make something happen for yourself. I think you potentially feel victimized, or you've been taught to incorrectly categorize when somebody points this out to you, or when life points this out to you. You are on a precipice. You are an adult. You need to kind of take life by the reins, and this is a thrilling, exhilarating experience. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting. It's like I'm picturing somebody like on a horse, like just tearing through like a canyon or something. That's what actually gives you the sense of like confidence and strength, where you don't have to lie to yourself about it and saying like, I'm just so confident and nobody ever brings me opportunities. Like everybody was supposed to bring this person some kind of love or whatever it is that they required in that moment to pacify them. It's enabling. This person expected everybody to enable and to reflect back to them that indeed they were a bystander in their own life. And again, this has been internalized in some way. And it might not look the exact same as when your parent did it in your life. It might not be in the exact same arenas. But I think it's when something is truly on your plate and when something is truly a reflection of who you are. You sit on the precipice, and then you've been taught to incorrectly categorize when life, through people or through situations, kind of reflects this back at you as like, you've been taught to incorrectly categorize that as you being victimized, instead of some sort of like, I need to make a conscious decision here. That's all the fuzz. I need to make a conscious decision. I don't just get swept by my emotionality. I don't just throw a fit and then everybody like kind of comes running at me, there's something here. I'm like, it's hard, but you need to see it, and you need to, there's something here that you're, like moving towards a victory. So I'm hearing there's something that when you do this, okay, when you, instead of sitting on the precipice and like are hollering, instead, if you go to the library, if you go to the resource office, if you go to the this, if you go to the that, and you get yourself out, I'm a living example of this. Like if you do, like the level of selfhood, like there's almost guaranteed victory here. This is the victory card. The level of self-confidence that you have, this is building the engine in you. And then everything that you build, it's going to feel like you. Some of you, I'm hearing like there's a confidence issue and you think it's like, well, if I just had this job, and you're wrong. If somebody handed you a job the way that parent sat there and cried and expected like everybody to kind of like come running towards them. If somebody handed you a job, it wouldn't feel like a sense of accomplishment. It wouldn't feel like connected to your own self or something like that. So Spirit is like, we're actually giving you the opportunity. So some of you, I'm hearing like you feel impotent in a certain area of your life, and you've been praying to feel confident, and you want to find that like, and you know that you have certain like skills or something. And Spirit is like, get up, go get it. Because that experience, Spirit like knows you better than you know yourself. That experience of like taking the reins in your own life, that's actually what you need. It doesn't matter what job you get. It doesn't matter what thing you accomplish. The process of like getting up and doing it and taking the reins and being like, this is who I am. I made that happen, regardless of what it was. I made that happen. I didn't just sit on the precipice. Like, everybody has kind of modeled for me so that we can all enable each other. I'm hearing the word enmeshment. So we sit in this enabling enmeshment stew. Get up, get out of that stew. Get up, get out of that stew. Get up, get out of that stew, you know? And I think for some of you, it's like you need to start having different kinds of conversations with whoever this was that you were really expected to enable. And that was classified as love. And if you didn't enable them, you were classified as a persecutor. That was wrong. And so I think that I'm hearing the conversation dynamics need to shift in like the home or something like that. So it's like, this might be an uncomfortable truth, but it's not going to mean as much to you. Some of you, I'm also hearing like this is actually an answer to your prayers because you've been praying to find your selfhood in the world, and you can't find it like without a challenge or without actually like kind of doing this. You know, I'm just going to say this really quick. Like when I found out that somebody in my family was stealing money from me, it was 2 weeks before finals. I was being threatened to get like kicked out of the dorms. Like I shuffled shit around. I made shit work for me. I almost didn't process the emotionality of it for like months, if not years afterwards, because I was just in problem solver mode. I was like, I refuse to like let this define me. But the weight that I was under, I knew that I would be well within my rights to just like crumble. Like I could have, but I was like, no, I'm going to really try for this. And it was an impossible situation. And the person that I've developed into, because I know that like, I used to think of myself as incredibly weak and very sensitive because I was just told that my whole life, that girls are supposed to be that way. And that I remember like, I remember my dad had a bill on the counter and it was like $150 or something. And he was like, yeah, like this is what bills are for adults. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how do you pay those? And he goes, your husband will deal with that. And that is like the worst advice, you know, but I was raised in that way of like, you don't need to worry about that. And that's never been my life, you know? So I kind of was starting at a deficit of a lot of things. And like, I just took it. I just took it, man. Like, and I'm telling you, like, nothing could have been better. Like, yes, it sucked in the moment, but like looking back, I can kind of see the purpose and like, I love who I am now because I just feel like, whatever, we can figure it out. There's resources, there's ways to kind of like figure it out in a way that I never could have learned otherwise. And I do know that people are different from me, but I do know that that was I'm just saying it in case that's helpful for somebody. The brave little toaster, I love that. Yeah, that's attorney in power. It's an opportunity to cut your teeth, to build your strength, and to say, okay, this is what's in front of me. I don't get to choose what's in front of me, but I do get to choose how to respond to it. And the decisions I'm going to make are going to reflect back the fact that I am capable, that I am willing to look at a situation head on in the face, that I'm the baddest bitch in the room. Like, you can just say that. Like, I just refuse to like lay down. Like, I just refuse. Like, I might get bulldozed. This might fail miserably, but I am going to look back and know that I did what I could do. And I'm not even saying, I'm hearing like work smarter, not harder. It doesn't like, you don't have to rally yourself like for everything. Sometimes it's just a matter of like looking at it from a different angle, like we're doing today. But like you can actually do it. And that's what Spirit is saying too. It's like, don't look at it just as the decisions that you're making in the external world. Like look at it as shaping you. Who are you when you are like, that's the biggest question in the room. I'm hearing that's the biggest question in the room is who am I? How am I going to respond to this? You know, and it's not saying that you have to do everything on your own. It's just sometimes the places where you're going to get assistance, that's not where it's like maybe the easiest place, but it's not exactly where you should be going because it could be like a covert contract, you know, like, okay, well, I know that I could stay with this person, but like, I also know that they're going to expect something ridiculous of me. So what else can I potentially do that is, you know what I'm saying? It's like thinking about like, even just the process of thinking about this. I'm hearing this is your victory. Yeah, like Noir said, like, I've been dealt these cards, let's play this poker game. Like, that's kind of like, okay, let's just see what I can do. Let's see what my options are. And I'm hearing the quote from Divergent where 4 is talking to Triss, and it was after she, like, got jumped by one of her friends. Like, he was trying to push her into the ledge so that he could have a spot, like, right? And she said, I can't believe Hal. I can't believe that he did that. And he goes, fear does something strange to people like Hal. You know, and he's like, but fear doesn't shut you down, it wakes you up. And that's what I'm getting for this. Like, fear doesn't shut you down, it wakes you up. You can redefine this stuff for yourself. Because you can't choose in life, like, whether or not you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. Like, we all are, right? You're going to have to be faced with certain things. But, like, when it happens, like, fear doesn't shut you down, it wakes you up. Like, try to open your eyes underwater. Try to open your eyes in the dark. Like, not literally. But, like, you know what I'm saying. Okay. And I've noticed in society, let me just say this. I have noticed in society, weirdly enough in American culture, which is all about like individualism, but in an unhealthy way. But like I have noticed when you suggest that it's like, what if you did try to deal with this, you know, like in a different way? What if you did, yes, it's unfair, but it's also what's on your plate. You know, I feel like we waste a lot of it. You can't argue with what falls on your plate. You just can't. It might be unfair. It might be unpleasant, but like in the face of that, what are your choices? Like in order to deal with it, to actually deal with it, like, are you just going to sit there and give up on yourself? Like you don't have to give up on yourself. Like that's the thing that I've always kind of like tried to categorize. Like you don't have to just sit here and give up on yourself. Yes, it's unfair, but like, what does that mean for you that it's unfair? That you're just going to sit here and like take it? Or are you going to try for yourself? And like, not for anybody else and not because you should have to, but just because this is what's here. Like, and you don't want to give up on yourself, you know? And I know it can be hard to like tell people this in certain situations, and it's not appropriate for all situations, to be honest. Like, I'm not telling you not to seek like legal action or something against someone who's wronged you. Like, again, like it's kind of hard to have these conversations. Okay. I literally saw the 10 of Swords, and it's like on this, I've been seeing it like this whole time. Look, 10 of Swords into the Magician. I knew it. So this is like dying of an old self, like an old conditioning, an old pattern. It's painful, but it will never happen again. This is an opportunity to like dead the old self and to leave potentially the Garden of Eden. You know, because this is, and there's auspicious energy that is awaiting you, but it's connecting you with your own magician energy. And this is not just, yes, the magician, like you have everything that you need. I'm hearing, yeah, like this mindset of like, well, I need this or I need that. Like, no, you have everything that you need with the magician within you because you are confident and strong and a maverick. I'm hearing like this is just meant to unlock maverick potential. I feel like whoever's gotten this pile, you legitimately are a maverick. It's just waiting to be uncovered. But I'm seeing like there's a lot of conditioning and rhetoric and stuff that needs to be pulled back. And I'm also hearing that quote that's like, how can we assist you if you're irritated by every rub? Like something here needs to die, like all of a sudden and very painfully, like a version of self, an outlook or something. And yes, like I'm hearing grieving, like you might have to be depressed. Like it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to feel sad, but like it shouldn't prevent you from still like trying for yourself, because that's how you actually like build your confidence. I'm picturing Amarantya, like the sun energy that like kind of comes out of the cave, but I feel like you're bringing yourself out of the cave. And then not only that, but this is the beginning of the major arcana, which is the soul journey. This is a massive energy. And then I'm hearing that's what the auspiciousness is, you know, the major arcana, it's like the little mundane happenings that happen in life. You're changing your perspective from like, okay, these are just like little mundane happenings to, whoa, there's like a soul journey that's going on here that's unfolding. And when I understand life from that level, it helps me connect with my power and my ability to kind of do things. Because life, I'm hearing it's a central tenet, like when you look at life from a spiritual perspective, what we're all doing here, that like you can get yourself out of things, like you can, and your guide team is there to assist you and things like that. Yeah, you feel left out in the cold, but I feel like it's actually leading you to a type of sanctuary. Drains me to the point where I'm unavailable for my kids when I'm at home. No end in sight. Yes. Yeah. Look, King of Wands. The truth is that you're the King of Wands is what I'm hearing. And I love the King of Wands. This is Jesha energy for me. Like when the King of Wands is poorly aspected, he's like honestly the worst. But this is you, because for me it's Jesha energy, which is the elder sister. So again, it's like you've always done everything to kind of, you've always been on the back foot. Like you have always been plugged into other people's life and other people's existence. So whatever this is, it's meant to get you on your own foot, living life on your own terms, connecting with your own strength energy, having a full plan. But you may need to have an extreme change of fortune in order for this to happen, because you have to, again, like this Murgashira energy, it's interesting. We got Gemini, Saggy, student and teacher, but I'm hearing like this experience is your teacher. Gemini energy, like especially Murgashira, right when you're coming off of Taurus. Taurus is the Garden of Eden. Everything is lush, everything's beautiful, but you're under some kind of tyrannical pressure or tyrannical control. So it's like, well, I have all my needs met here, but I have no sense of personhood or individuality. Again, with the Libra energy, I've had to give up my like selfhood or whatever. So you choose to leave that in order to gain your own self-respect and your own self-sovereignty and to build things on your own terms. And it's the start of a journey, leaving that out into Murgashira energy. But you've been doing everything for everyone else's dime, like to build up wealth for somebody else, to live somebody else's dream. You've just been an accessory to somebody else's dream. You've just been a cog in their wheel. And so it's like, no, I'm going to take action in my own life, and I'm going to connect with that journey and experience. I'm going to leave, and then I'm going to get the respect that I deserve. And you might need to like choose to completely start all over somewhere else. But this is going to connect you with your power, not right away. It's a journey. And it's also connecting you to some kind of spiritual power here as well. And yeah, it's like cutting away from lies. Like this is the Ace of Swords. It's like a truth kind of a card. Yeah, the confusion here. I'm hearing you have options. You don't have options. Okay, like thinking that you have options in this, you don't. You have one clear way that's going to connect you to like your own power. It's like you taking responsibility of your life and getting out of the haze of whatever this is. And you need to choose clarity. You need to see the situation as it is. You need to understand that you've been disrespected. You have not been valued, that you are contributing to somebody else's like version of truth or vision or ideal, in order to provide them with options. That's what I'm getting for like luxury or to contribute to their dream. And yeah, look, in this Temperance card, she's dumping them out into the cauldron. I just feel like you have to walk away from something here, even though it's very difficult. Look, Hermit, be alone. You need to choose like some kind of period of hermitude in whatever way that means for you. And I'm not telling you to take your life in an irresponsible way. Again, like going to people like me who are telling you a certain message, not understanding that message fully in wisdom, not taking the time to, and then acting, and then if something doesn't go according to plan, blaming someone like me. It's the same kind of function. You need to take this and make use of it in your own life. If a librarian gave you a book and then you misunderstood something in the book, you wouldn't like be mad at the librarian. It's about taking full ownership, even to a point, I think here at the beginning for some of you, where it feels like, yes, it's unfair. No one should have stolen $20,000 from me that I didn't even know I had. It was unfair. I am thriving now. I am absolutely thriving in a way that maybe I couldn't have if I hadn't have built up some kind of muscle. You don't know how things are going to turn out a different way. Like you just don't. So yeah, this is all about like being the hermit. So Spirit, what else? Like I'm going to wrap this pile up and go into pile number 2. Definitely went through the cycle that you described. Yeah. And it's also like, I don't know. They're showing me in, why do I always want to call it Varsity Blues? It's not. It's the football movie that I always reference with Denzel Washington in it. And it's like Remember the Titans. Thank you. And like the football practice, they're showing me it was like crazy. Like football practice is like intense. It's hard. You're running your drills or whatever. And there was at one point in the camp where he was like, you don't need water, you sissies. And the other coach walks up to him and is like, there's a line between tough and crazy and you're flirting with it. You know, like I'm not saying to tip over into crazy, but the toughness of practice means that when you are confronted with something in a game that it's easier for you, or you've already been through the motions so many times. And I feel like there's something here like that where it's like, yeah, it's tough. You're experiencing something tough, you know, but it's not purposeless. Like I'm hearing it's not purposeless, but shifting through a spiritual perspective or something like that. And I'm hearing, don't pray for strength if you don't want strength. Your guides are like, this is on you. Don't pray for strength if you don't want strength. Like this is what it feels like to develop it. And I'm not talking about abusive situations. I'm not talking about crazy situations. There's a line between tough and crazy and you're flirting with it. Your guides are going to keep you on the tough side of things here. Even if, yeah, I don't know. There's something here like that. Okay, anything else, Spirit? Oof. I'm like, I don't know. Hold on. There's something coming through for me because it's like, oh man, Jess, you know that this is like not a safe place for you to kind of get into these kind of situations with people, like in their life, you know? It's just, there's no right answer, and there's, yeah. Malefic heavy chart. I can't stand when people don't have resilience and grit. Rise into your life. Yeah. Resilience and grit. And you know, yeah, I have those as values as well. And maybe this is like an invitation to see resilient, like instead of seeing the problem, see like the practice, see the resilience and grit. Maybe ask yourself if you have resilience and grit as a value, you know? And it's tough too, because it's like everything is on a gradient in life. So we're talking about a certain situation. We're talking about, it might be helpful here to build up that resilience and grit. There's other things where it's like, absolutely somebody's been treated not fairly, you know, and they need to deal with that legally or something. It's like, no, I'm not talking about abusive situations here. Like, right? Yeah, this is about embracing choice. And I feel like this leads you to a partnership. And I mentioned this in like the shadow work and love talk, where I was like very alone for 4 years, digging myself out of a hole that in no way did I deserve. In no way was I expecting, right? But I know I don't understand all of the ways that it led me to like my husband and the life that I have now. I really don't. But I do know that without that experience, I never would have left my hometown. Like I wouldn't have had, I think like in that moment, in that experience, like when I was just digging myself out of a hole and then it all kind of climaxed at this psychic telling me that whoever I was supposed to be with was choosing somebody else. I literally was like, well, that person is choosing someone else. They're exploring other avenues to like a full extent. I think that was the first time in my life that I ever actually asked myself what I wanted. Instead of just, again, like, well, I'm supposed to be dutiful. Like I was approaching the problem that I was in of like, well, I have to be dutiful and I want to make all the right decisions and I need to stay here because I want this or I want that. And in that moment, everything that I had been through, no, I didn't just like sit on the back foot and accept what life was going to give me. Something switched in me. And for the first time in my entire life, I had enough gall to ask myself what it is that I actually wanted. And I wanted to explore spirituality, and I left like my comfort zone and my family and the entire life that I thought that I was going to live, the person that I was. I never would have had the gumption to do that. Never. And I never would have put myself in the situation that I was in. I never would have chosen that, to have somebody that I love so dearly do all of those things to me. No, I never would have chosen that for myself. But like the things that have come out of it, I'm literally telling you, I could never have imagined like how all of that pieces together. But I know that it led me to breaking a karmic cycle, choosing like getting my happiness, getting like something that actually suits me. Because like I was always on the back foot and I was always just thinking like, what's the right decision? I'm always trying to do everything for everybody else and wanting praise for that. And while it's admirable, it wasn't my values, to be honest. I have a lot of Aries in my chart. Like it wasn't my values. I just believe in being strong and independent. And I don't like it when I see it in other people. Like it's so triggering to me, but it's because I wasn't connecting with it myself. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Pile number 1. Into me, I see. This is all about intimacy. Nothing is an accident. Something here is like hidden, right? And I'm hearing like just that numbing out sort of an energy of like, oh, well, my emotions are kind of drawing me in this place and I'm on this precipice, or I just, because my emotions are drawing me here or there, it's actually like kind of diluting. And I'm just getting like, again, either you shut off in an emotional way, or actually what you are perceiving as being emotionally shut off in navigating certain situations is actually an abundance of emotion that you are trying to run from or drown out. And it's actually like kind of leading your situation. So it's about like kind of, I'm picturing turning off the TV in the background, the sounds that are kind of drowning it out, which I think for this group is a lot of options. You don't actually have a lot of options. Most of the options like, okay, well, I could do this or that. And it's like bargaining. It's like the grief phase of bargaining, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. And over on Patreon, there was one of the groups where I was like, no, they've only made it, your guides were saying they'd only made it in the first 3, denial, anger, bargaining. So like okay, well, if I do this or if I do that, that's what a lot of your options here, it's really just bargaining. And if you choose one of those options, it'll just kick you back into denial. Things will actually calm back down, but it's this static energy that's blaring out like your inner emotional pain. But then it will have to like work its way back to the surface again until you finally take the only option. I'm hearing you think that it's complicated. You think that it's one way or something. There's actually very clearly just one option. That's the spiritual option. It's the option where you choose yourself finally. Regardless, come what may. I'm hearing rage against the dying of the light. Like those moments where it's like, fuck that. And you and everything that you're trying to make me do and you not taking responsibility of yourself. Because some of you, it's like you just want to keep yelling at that person. Like you should change. You should change. Like, don't you see what you're doing to me? And this person is getting everything that they want out of the situation. This is the tyrant in the Garden of Eden. They control proceedings. They have no reason to change their behavior unless people start standing up to them and reflecting their truth back, which is that they kind of don't. I'm hearing the word tyrant. Like some of you have just gotten involved with a tyrant, and some of you it's an emotional tyrant. Like that person who is enmeshed and expects you to enable them. They just sit and cry on the precipice, even though they are the adult in their own life. I just heard it's not cute. It's not cute. Okay. They smirk through it. Yes, we can do this. Cutting people out. And I'm seeing two memes and then we'll move on. One is, if you enjoy burning sage around your house to clear out negative energies, you may also want to consider cutting people out of your life that are no fucking good for you. So don't just keep having those people in your space and then following them around the sage stick. You know what I'm saying? And then there's another one, and I forgot it because I was so engrossed in the first one. Yeah, bye-bye tyrants. Yeah. Oh, the next meme was, it's not enough for you to just cut ties with like the people, places, and things that have like kept you bound and like no longer serve you. You have to also cut ties from the person that you used to be. And that's what I was getting with the Ten of Swords. I used to be a people pleaser. I used to be, and I still am to a certain extent, because it's a process. It's not like flipping a switch, right? Night and day. You have to, especially have to learn like completely different ways of being in the world. But that's why we have each other and we have resources like Patrick Teehan, you know, or like knowing where to go, or like just being open to figuring out where to go. Like, to receive the help and, you know, to tend your own fire and to keep yourself going. There are so many life lessons in this that are totally worth your while taking on. Because I think you're looking at this and you're only seeing the negative, because there's something here that you've had to negotiate your selfhood, but maybe it's worth it to have like certain creature comforts. But I think you're getting to the point where it's like you're losing respect in yourself, or like you're feeling again like you can't do things that you absolutely can do. And that's not, again, I have a lot of Aries in my chart. That to me, nothing's worth that. Nothing's worth that. I'll die in a ditch. Before. I take that back. It was a metaphor. It was a metaphor. You get what I'm saying? It's like, there are certain things where like, no, I'm not giving that up. So that was pile number 1. That was a really intense message. And again, like, make sure you're taking care of yourself. But yes. Okay. You can't fly until you give up the ground you're standing on. Marianne Williamson. So true. So true. Flying monkeys are being activated the last few weeks. I can't even, whatever. Yeah. And like, that's the thing. If you stay in those situations, it's like the deck is stacked in somebody else's favor. And I think some of you don't want to see that it was built that way. Like, even if this is a parental situation, they built their life that way to make you feel like you have to tend them, even though you were 8, you know? Or they chose a partner that, some of you, you might not like this, okay? But like, some of you, it's like whoever you're with, they chose a partner they knew they could railroad. That they knew that they could just like bulldoze, because they saw in you like the people pleasing behaviors that you want to work things out. And then it's being abused. It's being taken advantage of, which is why you don't actually have other options, because this will just continue. They'll say whatever to keep you there. Yeah, I'm hearing somebody that you're with, or like this group of people, it's like they just keep you right on the precipice. Or they give you just enough. I'm hearing they just give you just enough rope. Or they give you just enough independence or autonomy for you to think that you're independent. Yeah, I'm seeing Chasing Liberty, where her dad like tries to make her, we want to give her the illusion of independence. So for some of you, it's like that. Okay. Moving on. Okay. Sorry. My mother-in-law was like, yesterday, she was like, you just break into songs sometimes. Okay. My lip gloss be popping. Okay. Cool. I always feel bad. And let me just say, like, this is me getting out of my own comfort zone in pile number 1. I think I'm literally actually doing it right now, because for me, it's like the tyrant in my own mind is people who I feel like they're going to receive a certain message and then like blame me or like get mad, you know, at me, instead of just, again, figuring out where they go or something. And so me just being like, this is what I'm getting in the cards, and I'm loyal to that. For those of you who get it twisted in the comment section, I'm not trying to appease your ego. I'm loyal to the energies that come through me. I think that's why certain messages do come through me. I'm trying to prove myself worthy of that. But like, it becomes a tyrant that then like you have to keep appeasing. Like, there is no religion higher than truth. There is no message that I could give you higher than the truth. So I'm just trying to tap into whatever that is. And yes, there are situations where the exact opposite of what I just said in pile number 1 is true. That's not the message I got on the channel for reasons that I don't understand. So that's me, again, like trying to kind of do this. Okay. Definitely not shooting a messenger. Yeah. Okay, pile number 2. Thank you, Catherine. We hold the line right with you, 100%, Jess. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Pile number 2, Latia. Okay, so let me just like ground myself in this message again. So how can you look at this differently? Okay. The tear. So with this energy, I always kind of think of Ardra, which is another Gemini energy. We've had a lot of Gemini energy coming up today. So it's telling me that you could feel torn into places. There could be a lot of conversation energy. You're having a conversation where you really need to cry. It's and they're showing me like a badminton or like a game where you have to keep the ball up or the birdie like between you and like somebody else. So you're talking something out here. You're having a conversation about something with like your friends where you actually just need to cry. There's something here that you just need to cry, and it'll actually transmute the situation. It could transmute how you're feeling. Yeah, because it's like if you cry, then I think your feelings could actually be maybe polar opposite, right? Gemini, polar opposite energy, yes and energy. There's something that you're trying to figure out in conversation here where, again, it's yes and. It's not, is it this or is it that? It's like yes and also this. So it could be something like, well, I love this person or place or thing, and also they're terrible for me. Gemini energy choice, right, with the lovers. And this could tie back into pile number 1 about those intimate situations, not being conscious, not being fully that adult energy of I choose who I'm with. I love this person in this and way, and yet they're also terrible for me, and they bring out the worst in me, and I'm hearing they nurture a weakness in me that I'm uncomfortable with. So yes and, there's something here where it's yes and energy, and when you accept the yes and nature of whatever this is, you will just cry. I'm feeling like you're trying to hold back tears here. And then when you cry, it's like unlocking. I'm hearing new level unlocked. It's like, yeah, it's unlocking some kind of space that you're afraid of. This is shadow energy. And that's where I feel like maybe this is going to tie in with pile number 3. But yeah, it's some kind of like shadow energy. It's like this darkened room. Oh, Bluebeard. I'm hearing the story of Bluebeard. Okay, so again, Bluebeard had the closet full of all of his ex-wives, right? And nobody knew where they were going. Oh, he's such a prince, and like everybody would be lucky to have him, or like, so everybody was just sending off their daughters, like even though they all kept disappearing. And then he leaves, and there's a closet here that you're afraid to unlock. And you're tricky with yourself as to how you keep yourself from unlocking this closet. Because either you could be just getting around friends, and like just talking and conversing with friends instead of like actually being alone and crying and grieving. But you could be talking around this issue. Again, it's another clever way of keeping on the precipice because you think you're processing or you think that you're doing something to actually address it. But in reality, you're just keeping the birdie up in the air. You're still playing the game. You're still playing the game when really you need to stop playing the game. And I'm hearing the Albert Einstein quote that says the solutions to problems cannot come from the same level that they were created on. You have to graduate out of this. So you have to stop playing the game. Some of you are going round and round with somebody in conversation. This is the bargaining energy that I was getting. This is the bargaining energy. All it is bargaining. You're bargaining with yourself and you tolerate this. So if you're having conversations with somebody that you're on a precipice with, and it's like, perhaps I'm going to leave, you having the conversation, it's like you're with a person who's kind of a Bluebeard figure, I'm getting, and they want to keep certain things locked up in the closet. They're not wanting to actually work this out. And there's a part of you that doesn't want to either. You're split in two with whatever this is. So it's all about what side of yourself you're nursing and you're leaning into. So I'm getting like this group that you're with, it's like an enabling kind of a group. Okay, so this is linking back to pile number 1. It's just, see how this energy where you had this maybe enabler energy in your family, and it doesn't necessarily play out in this matchy sense of like, my mom is that way, now my wife is that way, or it doesn't necessarily, even though you can still have that energy of enabling in your life. So for some of you, it's like, this is a group of people. It's a friend group or it's something, and you just keep the conversation going instead of actually making the decision on the precipice or leaning into yourself in the side of things where you're like, this is going nowhere. There's something in your life where it's like, it's very clear that this situation is going nowhere, but it feels bleak to kind of like lean into that. So you're trying to run away from it and you're trying to figure out what you can salvage or something like that. But with the tear energy and with the emerald, this reminds me of Ardra energy, which is the nakshatra in the middle of Gemini. And it's one of the most difficult places in the entire zodiac because this is after the soul has left the comfort of the Garden of Eden. There's maybe a lot of anxiety or trepidation. And then that's when it moves into Ardra, and Ardra rules over very destructive storms. And it is the energy of Rudra, which is the original form of Shiva. So it's like actually more animalistic and more intense. My Rudraksha beads that like you see around Rudra, it comes from like Rudra. So it's a very intense place, these very destructive storms, but it's clearing out what no longer serves you. I'm just hearing for some of you, this new way of looking at it is just understanding that like, just the same way in nature that there's cycles of like birth and then like kind of building it up and entropy and then the death energy, which then recycles things back into the nutrients, which then prepares for new life. Sometimes destructive storms are a part of that. And you need to understand that just because things are going crazy or there's a destructive storm in your life doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that you're being punished. Death energy is a part of life energy, and especially in the West, like where we hide old people away, and death is not really like, we worship youth, like everybody is always like youthful on the covers of magazines and stuff. We forget that death energy, it's not unusual. It's a part of life. And when like to expect it, you should just kind of like expect that this will come every once in a while. And when you have that perspective, whenever it happens to you, it doesn't catch you off guard. And then you kind of go, oh no, what did I do? Or I'm being punished. Like, yes, you might be entering a dark night of the soul. Okay. But this is, the Gemini energy. I'm hearing that's why we have friends. That's why we have a group. That's why we have community. So, okay, for some of you, you need a different set of friends, like where you can have higher order conversations, because there could be some kind of group of friends where it's like you love them. And it's not like just throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I'm hearing like maybe you're trying to have certain higher order level conversation with people who are just not into it, and they just want to go to the mall, or they just want to, I don't know, like I am hearing like they're not interested in like spirituality or deeper things, or if they do, it's on a very superficial level. And if you have those kinds of conversations with people who are on a more superficial level, it can be very diluting, or because you want to have actual rich conversations with people who are also thinking about that. So, okay, yeah, that's looking at friends differently. That's another thing for this group. And the functionality of that. And I've talked about how Gemini energy is the higher self of the Scorpionic energy, when we can talk with our genuine friends, siblings, community about certain things. Sometimes it can disperse it. It's taking something that was deep and hidden and locked away and actually like dispersing it. Okay, so there's something going on here where it's like there's not an understanding of what exactly it is that you're doing. So for some of you, it's like you're talking about something deep and meaningful because you're sitting on the precipice, and it's actually just keeping you in stasis. It's a clever way that you're keeping yourself in stasis. Where for others of you, there's other situations where it's like potentially you get very angry or upset, or you're accusational. I'm hearing accusational when you see a healthy version of this conversation of like where we're talking about deep things. We're talking about emotionality. We're talking about the things that make us afraid. We're talking about death energy. It's not a bad thing. It's actually transmuting it. It's making it common. Like it's like I said, death is like a common energy. It's making it common. So there's another thing about like how we apply those things. And I'm hearing that's another thing as well. It's like, try not to demonize things in your world. There's just understand that everything has a time and a place and a proper application. So learn about it well, so that in your hand, it is a proper tool. That was the magician energy that we were building in pile number 1. But you had to get out of that old energy of like, things just happen to me. So it's, everything in life is, I'm hearing life does this. Life uses its tools actually very well, and we don't understand that. So it's kind of like becomes a tuning fork that we're trying to tune ourselves to. I'm hearing if you stop arguing with life, you're going to grow exponentially in wisdom very quickly. If you stop arguing with life and saying, this shouldn't have happened, and can I speak to your manager? Excuse me? And instead you go, why is this like presenting? Not necessarily that it's okay. We go through ridiculous things here in life. I sort of think that's a bit of the purpose of it. Like nobody's saying that, like, and certainly from the perspective of the ego, like nobody's saying that it's like, okay, but instead just be like, why waste my time arguing? Like this is like, there's certain things that happen where it's like, it just is happening. So it's a waste of my energy right now in this moment to argue with whether or not it should be happening. That is a conversation that pretends to be necessary, and it isn't. Like, yes, you are going to grieve it. You're going to process it like potentially after the fact. But I'm again, this precipice moment where it's like, it feels, there's something here where it's like, you feel like you're processing it, but actually you're not processing it. You're just distracting yourself when you should actually be having some kind of conversation that could assist you. There's something like that. And confusing and conflating the two potentially. But like I was saying with this Ardra energy, it also rules like being out. I always picture somebody like out in the middle of the ocean. Like there's not a sun, like a land in sight. This is like really intense kind of an energy, but that's also like it rules over like gems, like this emerald gem. So there's some kind of gem energy that's coming through this, but I just feel like you have to let go of how you think life should be, or how you think the situation should fold out, or how you think you should be, and you have to open the closet. I feel like there's some kind of dark hidden secret. That's what it feels like. There's a secret here. Look, Page of Wands in reverse. There's a secret here. I just want to see what it is. Okay, I'm hearing like, you know the phrase of like that people say where it's like, they know where all the bodies are buried? Like, there's some kind of key or something to this. Break glass and use in case of emergency. Okay, hold on. What's this? What is in this? There's some kind of secret in this closet. I'm just hearing that things are not as they seem. Things are not what they seem. And you can't. Okay, it's like something here is like somebody or something is not what it is that they seem. And you can't get to that knowledge or realization if you keep having a conversation on a certain level. Okay? That's what I'm getting. And there's a certain friend group potentially where you're trying to go and have this conversation that's keeping it on a certain level. You need to let the ball drop. You need to just cry. You need to like just accept it. And then you can see the truth of what's going on, which is that there's a Bluebeard situation. Somebody here is pretending to be like a Bluebeard. Maybe it's you. It could be. For some of you, but I feel like this is somebody or something that you're dealing with. And this doesn't have to be in relationships. This could also be like, I'm hearing I grind their bones to make my bread. So this could also be like a work situation. Somebody here is grinding bones to make bread. What is the secret here? Look, 5 of Cups, grief. And there also, for me, this is Mars and Scorpio energy, which to me, it's like there could have been some kind of strategy involved, some kind of hidden strategy. And you have to understand this. This is the balls dropping, like with the 3 of Cups spilled over. This is what I'm talking about. There needs to be some kind of balls dropping. And then look, he doesn't know that there's the 2 of Cups behind him, but that's the new beginning. But something here needs to be fully let go of. Like you can't go anywhere else. Like you can't, I'm hearing you can't make it work in a broken home. Look, the 3 of Swords. There could have been strategy here to break your heart. Or I'm also getting that there was potentially strategy on the spiritual side of things to like have, I don't know, to some kind of karmic relationship that was long term and caused you a lot of pain. And I know that's triggering for some people to hear. I imagine those people are not going to tarot readings. I'm just saying this, like I saw a message under one of the posts, I think it was Patrick Teehan, where somebody, again, was just like blatantly disrespecting like half the world's population and their beliefs, their spiritual beliefs, and not understanding that there are some spiritual beliefs that are incredibly comforting to some people and they're incredibly not comforting to other people. And it's just so wrong to point fingers and like deny. Like they were talking about karma and how like it doesn't, like they don't like the way that karma is used to excuse people's bad behavior. I don't like that either, but I think that's a shallow westernization, bastardization of the concept of karma. So in my view, they weren't even really talking about karma like as it actually was. It was like some kind of weird Western idea of karma. It was a straw man, and then they were attacking it. But it's because somebody had used that idea very superficially and incorrectly with that person. But they were like, yeah, like you didn't go through something bad because of karma. And I agree with that sentiment. I think that is a very two-dimensional, like I think that's a gross way of being. But I also think that real genuine people who have that as a genuine spiritual belief, they're the same way that people go to like church groups and stuff and they learn about things deeply and they're constantly revisiting topics and stuff. That's how I feel like people who are actually spiritual wrap themselves up in certain things like that. So I'm not trying to say that this was like, I don't know. I'm not trying to say that this is like just or anything, but there could have been like, I don't know. There's something here that's helping your soul, that's assisting your soul. If that's not relevant for you, it's okay to go ahead and click off of the reading now, because this is meant to be helpful and not hurtful. Right? Okay, but that's what I'm getting. And there's the energy here also of like Saturn and Mars, of like wanting to press the gas, wanting to press the brake. Like somehow that being in this kind of, I'm hearing like no-win scenario or some kind of situation where it's like wanting to press the gas, wanting to press the brake is doing something. It's knocking something loose here. Like again, it's like something on a bigger scale, spiritually speaking, and it potentially could bring in some kind of like major storm. I'm hearing it's bringing in the rains, but it's a hugely destructive experience. It's destroying the ego is what I think it is. Some kind of false version of self. It's actually assisting in doing that. And if you clear out the crap of whatever this is, a new day is kind of going to come through. Okay, so I'm getting that somebody here that you're having a conversation with, they don't understand a certain concept, or they're not understanding things deeply. I was just talking about karma, how people are talking about it on this like 2-dimensional level, and it's a straw man, and you're not actually talking about like the actual energy of what karma is to so many people around the world whose ancestors have poured literally millennia's worth of time into relating to that concept. That's not the same thing that these certain people are talking about, like on a certain level. So yeah, some of you are being asked to distance yourself from these kinds of like groups or situations here, and like potentially grieving it. There's something here that's like a betrayal of your own heart, and it's going to put you into a state of like decision making, you know, and like kind of going back and forth and feeling a little bit more youthful. But notice how the look at the energy in these cards. The storm energy is going to then end you up here, where you might feel fresh and new and young and like maybe a little bit inexperienced, but look how nice and pleasant everything is. And she's got her yin yang symbol on. So everything is like more integrated and more balanced. Something that is like going back and forth, like this hard going back and forth, is actually more integrated. And it's the 8, like the infinity symbol of like the strength card. She's building up her strength in whatever this is, where on the strength card, this infinity symbol is actually on the lion's head of the lower natures. So yeah, there could have been strategy using the lower natures or the sexual energy to wound your heart in a certain situation. There was some sort of strategy here to wound you. That's what I'm getting. There could have been. But it was under the guise of love with the Queen of Cups. Oh my gosh. Look, I hate this 5 of Swords in this deck. Like, it's really, really intense. I'll just show you. So the 5 of Swords is a no-win situation. So you were put in a no-win situation here by somebody who was like acting like they loved you, or acting like they cared about you, or like using loving, nurturing energy. And notice how she's like kind of looking down, and the 5 of Swords, like this to me, I'm calling this my CEO card, because Alex and I were talking about how, did you know that most CEO jobs could actually be replaced by technology, like actually today? Something like 80% of them, because these like quote unquote difficult decisions that like CEOs have to make, the ruthless decisions, are actually just like a matter of computation of how to maximize profit, basically. Like that's all they really go on. And so that can be kind of like taken over by some kind of like mindless technology, being able to do that. So I think this person, that's how they really operate behind the scenes, whoever this was, where there was strategy. And you're not seeing that. You can only see the Queen of Cups because like you believed an illusion, or you wanted it to be true. Yeah, with the Ace of Swords. And it's bringing you a lot of pain. I just heard an Imagine Dragon song where it's like pain. There's a lot of pain. But this is a door. It's a doorway to unlock. This, you have to go, grief is a doorway. Grief and death energy, right? That's a doorway. And another thing Alex and I talk about is that we need more time to grieve in our world, because we don't acknowledge that death is a real thing, because we experience death energy all the time, but then we're just expected to kind of, oh, well, it's over now, so just like move on, when really there's a lot of emotional processing that kind of has to go on. Well, this grief experience that you're going through, it's actually a doorway. If there's a lot of burden here. And I feel like this is also because you're dealing with someone so cunning. Because you're dealing with someone so cunning, you can't operate from impulse. I feel like something here is like you're following an instinctual energy or an impulse energy within you is somehow got used against you in the past. So you actually have to be more aware and maybe a little more strategic yourself as to how you are dealing with this situation, and like really take on the burden or the responsibility and the wheel. Yes, I'm hearing like, if you take on the burden, and this has been true in my life as well. Like I didn't just like everything that I mentioned in pile number 1 of like the stuff that I went through. As soon as I started like actually dealing with it, I really did have assistance and help. Like when I started working towards myself, like you build your own luck. That's what I'm getting, is like you build your own luck. If you take on certain burdens and responsibility, with the 10 of Wands, this is about transmuting the beast into that man energy. You're not operating from this low level impulse energy that's keeping you low. Oh, you're going to make the right decisions. You're going to make the hard decisions with the Queen of Swords. You're going to cut certain things out of your life. And I love this Queen of Swords card. She actually looks genuinely happy to me. This is what happens when you cut out bullshit, is like you're actually chilling. And that's what I feel like is going on for her. And then the Wheel of Fortune is going to come in. You're going to have a major change in fortune, which I feel like with the mullah energy, you may have to make a decision here to cut away from something, change your fortune in a negative way, but then it'll change your fortune in a positive way and lead to victory. Yes, exactly. This is giving you a whole new perspective on the world, but it's coming through a destructive storm. If that makes sense. I'm hearing ready or not. Ready or not. Yeah, anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety here. Maybe about a message or sending a message or a message that you have received. Some of you have been very loudly messaged. I'm hearing like by spirit. But it is actually beckoning you to a new beginning. And I'm also hearing Hecate. So I feel like this is Hecate's lantern where she's just illuminated something here in this closet. She said, rise and shine. Cock-a-doodle-doo, bitch. Like, just opening that closet and just showing you around. And I'm also seeing her take her lantern and just light up a bunch of cobwebs and stuff to like kind of clear out the room. And this doesn't feel like a blessing, but it is. And again, I'm feeling like you were captured in some way. And I don't know that you know that, because I think this might pass as love for you, where it was like power games and somebody caring enough to be possessive or controlling over you or jealous over you feels like love. But as Maya Angelou so eloquently said, love liberates. And this is not liberation. Maybe it masks as liberation, or it masks as love in order to get away with, that's the cunning slyness of whatever this is, in order to get away with running some kind of game here. And maybe keeping you sad, keeping you from looking in the closet that you need to look into. Because I think for some of you, that's the trade-off. I'm feeling like that's the trade-off. It's like, you can live in Bluebeard's mansion. You just can't look in the closet. That's what it feels like. And some of you work with Hecate. Hecate's like, you can stay here in this, or you can come with me and we'll go look in the closet together. And this is like Persephone realizing that she was taken captive. I think there's a captive situation in a lot of you. Somebody could have stolen your heart, but it was very strategic. It was very strategic. This was not, I think something here appeared to be, again, like going with the flow or very bohemian or like very casual. But in reality, it was like very calculated in order to pull you into the belly of the beast. And so in order to get out, you do need this destructive storm here. You do need all of this in order to kind of, this feels very karmic to me. With a Mars dominant individual. So somebody who's maybe very sexual or very angry, impulsive, but tries to give the illusion that they're Saturn. We've seen this before. Somebody stable, somebody committed, somebody for the long haul, somebody who can restrict themselves and be disciplined where needed, somebody who can be committed to things, not just to you in a relationship, but committed to their own long-term success. But in reality, this person sort of like does it and then they like press the brakes. Yeah, it's giving you whiplash and it's making you addicted. There's some kind of like making you addicted here. Like behaviorist psychology with the pigeons. Like when they peck on the thing and then sometimes it gives them the food that they want, but not always. And there's kind of no rhyme or reason to it. That actually builds the strongest addiction. And I feel like there's something here where it's like, sometimes you get the love, sometimes you get what it is that you want. And so you kind of think to yourself, man, I mean, sometimes it's like really, really great, but Spirit is like, go to the storm, honey. Go through the storm. You can't outrun this. Okay. It will happen. It'll catch up with you eventually because it's karma and it needs to be cleared. It needs to be cleared. And that's Shiva energy. Like it's some of the most powerful energy there really is, in my opinion. And there's something very, it has to do with giving and receiving. Like there's something off about the giving and receiving. And it's very strategic, but you're not looking at this correctly. Because you're holding on to the love. He's got this like little love locket there. Like you're holding on to the love, but the cups are already spilled over. I'm getting the cups are already spilled over. So how can you look at this differently? Teamwork. With the Six of Cups. Teamwork. Okay, so it's like sometimes... Oh, okay. With Spirit. I feel like this is teamwork with Spirit, to be honest with you. Look, okay. How do I describe this? Okay, first of all, Six of Cups. What?
Pause for a sec.
Huh? Okay, sorry. Okay, so like I was saying, the Six of Cups. This is Sun in Scorpio energy. And so this is like transforming that Sun energy. And also I'm getting like, maybe you thought that you were transforming your Sun, but you were really just getting captured. So maybe this had to do with a child. But this also has to do with inner child. Okay. So like on the external level, I feel like you thought that you were changing yourself in some way. And this could have been through like a relationship or whatever this strategy was to get to your heart space. Okay. And a child could have been involved here, which is something that I've really been getting. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean that there's an accident, like accidental pregnancy or something, but there's something child related. Or it also could have been somebody from your past that came back and played on some kind of nostalgia in order to get back into your good graces and acted like they had changed, or that something about them, something about their personality had changed. In reality, it didn't. It was strategy, because what they did was they're a super germ and they understood that you put your foot down in a certain way. And so they were like, okay, now that I know you're serious about that, I'm going to tell you that I'm not that way anymore. But you're dealing with a very cunning creature, and that certainly didn't change. So it does involve children here, but this also involves the inner child. And so it's working together with your own inner child, I think, like part of it. But then also like learning from life, because the Six of Cups is like somebody here is, some of you have a child that is deeply gifted. They're maybe more spiritually advanced than you in certain ways, and you can actually watch this child and learn from this child. So that's like another thing here. But with the Knight of Cups, this is something sexual from the past. This is like something sexual. Maybe this is like what leans into pile number one. Like I'm hearing it should have never been. It should have never been. Something here should have never been. But you were confused. You were led astray. There was real strategy here in betraying you and breaking your heart. And it may be a child, or like your childhood or something here was used to do that, or a past scenario that you had with a person. So and something potentially here to like have a nice home or something. But this is like connecting with your own inner heart energy. And then again, this is somebody, taking the sleep of faith towards a new beginning. That's what like this really comes down to. But it's a building. Also like re-looking at this as though you're building, maybe from the ground up. You're building your own house. You're building your own, like metaphorically, you're building your own house. You're building your own family. You're building your own business. You're working together. Something here is like reframing something as though you're working together, but remaining separate potentially here as well. Or another thing is like that everybody here is their own person, but we work together. Like how does that change the situation? You know? Okay, interesting. Some of you don't want to acknowledge that there was real strategy here around a child, or around, again, playing on nostalgia. Because then it's going to give you, it rightfully should give you a completely different understanding of who it is that you're dealing with. You're not dealing with like the love of your life. You're not dealing with love at all. You're not dealing with love at all, some of you. Grandma, what big eyes you have. Yes, my son's very gifted. His father took him away from me. Yeah. And so like working together with this. Okay. The other thing is, that's what I get is like, looking at everybody as an individual and not saying like, well, what's best for our family? You know, like our family unit. Well, there is a family unit, but the family is made up of individuals. And I think so far, in order for the family, quote unquote, to like thrive, there's certain people that are living fat off the fat of the land that are tyrannical. This is a karmic pattern. It wouldn't surprise me if you were somebody's like indentured servant in a past life or something, or like slave, or like, I don't know, where you were just expected to like not exist and then just, again, contribute to someone else's dream. But they're keeping you there with strategy of like, well, what's good for the family? And in actuality, it's good for the family to have like, we're all individuals. So it's like, that is just some kind of mechanism to keep you from being healthy and getting what you need. And the child's then watching that, which isn't good for the child. And potentially some of these children are not getting what they need here as well. So it's like, how can we make the family system ensure that all of us are getting what we need? You know, and sometimes we all have to make like some kind of sacrifice, but I feel like the way this person operates, or whoever this is, they never don't get what they want, and everybody else is always giving up. It's not balanced. It's just trickery. I'm hearing it's just trickery. And again, with the reverse psychology, this has been coming up like with the whole Bluebeard thing of like, don't look in the closet. I wouldn't look in the closet, you know, but it's like, look in the closet. This is an internalized voice as well. I'm getting like you have this internalized. Saturn is like authority in our lives. It represents our parents, where they bind, restrict us for our own good, usually, hopefully, for our own discipline. And it becomes an internalized voice. And so you have an internalized tyrant, I'm hearing, that is potentially telling you not to peek behind the curtain. It's very Wizard of Oz. Don't peek behind the curtain. Anything else, Spirit? There is sneakery. There is sneakery. I don't know what's going on here. It's bad. Okay, so I can feel your trepidation of like, I don't want to peek behind the curtain. I get that because this is horrible. Okay, it is. It's bad. Whatever the... Oh my gosh. The 7 of Swords and the 5 of Swords. This is horrible. So maybe if I just tell you that ahead of time, it sets the bar so high that you're not going to get shocked with whatever it is that you find, okay? But something is rank in this. I feel like, yeah, I'm getting like weird sounds are coming from the closet now and smells where you're like, no, we got to look in that closet. We got to look in the closet. My gosh. We have to look in this closet, y'all. We have to. Okay? I don't know what's going on here, but we do need to look at it. Spirit's trying to give you the higher cup, and because Shiva is involved here, Shiva deals, again, with death and destruction. But that's the higher cup. Okay, but I feel like, again, we have been taught to fear like witches and the death energy and the occult and what's hidden. But really, that's the key to your freedom. That's what I'm getting. That's just the key. It is the higher cup here, okay? It's the higher cup here. Don't let this stupid person try to convince you that they're the higher cup. This person is horrible, okay? They are... It's like, oh my gosh, this is like the love of my life. And really, they're showing me like the worst possible thing that ever could have happened to you in a million lifetimes ever. Like, that's what this person is. They're showing me they're like a little tiny crumb, a little morsel, like just a little tiny morsel. So it's telling me that this person, it's like this, they're undermining you. They are gnawing away at you slowly over time. And they're getting you to be complicit in doing it. I'm hearing massages, like they're massaging you into it, coaxing you into it, but they're keeping you sick. And they're doing this to your children. So I'm hearing at the very least, some of you can rally up for a baby that you can't rally up for yourself. And you need to rally up for this baby. Oh, good Lord. Look, the Strength card. Okay, I just heard All My Scars Are Open. Impossible by Chantel. Tell me what I hoped would be impossible. You thought this would be impossible. Okay, so I'm going to put this down now. Whew, this is a lot, okay? Nothing lasts forever. I want to tell you a parable, and then we'll potentially move on here, because I might be called to draw some more cards. Okay, so there was this king, and he was having a struggle. And so he asked like a sage. He's like, what can you give me that will help me through my struggle? And the sage thought about it, and he had a ring made for him that said, this too shall pass. And so the king wore the ring, and every time he had to make a very difficult decision, or he was, put in some kind of like difficult moment, it would just, this too shall pass. Nothing in life is meant to stay the same. That's when you integrate death energy, when you accept death energy and you integrate it, this too shall pass. So good things and bad things too. Nothing is meant to be forever. We're meant to have a cornucopia of experiences here. This too shall pass. So even if you have to go through this destructive storm, no destructive storm can last forever. It's going to run out of steam. It's going to. Okay? So this too shall pass. But don't let that stop you from, okay, it's time for the storm. Throw yourself into it if that's what needs to happen. Ay. Okay. Let me just see. Do I need to pull any more cards? Why am I... Okay, love communication messages. Hold on. Are some of you not feeling loved because of all of that, like from Spirit? Hold on. Okay. Look at this. Look, please forgive me. I know I messed up. I'm not the same person. Isn't that what drew you in? Was that the ambrosia that like drew you into... So Spirit is saying, look out for this. This person's going to say that. Please forgive me. I'm not the same person. You have more than enough evidence in this closet. This person's also hiding mad things from you. I don't want to say what it is, but I think it's probably like cheating. It's strategy. This person's hiding stuff. I remember how we used to laugh and talk for hours about everything. I miss you. Do not fall for this. Don't fall for this. Okay. And I've been through my own experiences. We all have. We've all been in situations that, we wish could have been true. It's not true. Okay. This isn't over between us. I'm coming back for you. I feel empty without you. I feel like this person, they make you feel like there's something going on in there, but there's just really not. I'm trying to be someone you can trust. Don't buy this. Spirit is giving you the heads up on that. Don't buy this. Why, Spirit? Give me the warning. I mean, this can go nowhere good. This can go nowhere good. This person is like a parasite. Like, you know, we have like when you look at life, it's like there are things in life that produce actual like value and things, and then there's parasite energy that challenges it. So like our immune systems, for instance, like where you're trying to hold on to all your nutrients and everything that you have worked so hard to like hunt and eat and grow, and then you put it into your body, right? Like that's you building up your own value here, and you need to have defense mechanisms in order to keep it protected. But then you have parasite energy, virus energy, bacterial energy, right, in the world that tries. It's a neck and neck race, right? One moves ahead, then one moves ahead. This person is of that parasitic variety where they morph and they change in order to try to take something from you and from other people. It's the way that this person operates, has chosen to operate. It's their modus operandi. If you don't see that clearly, then all the little mechanisms that this I'm sorry, I'm using graphic language, this parasite has like morphed has changed and adapted and evolved to be. That's the evolution of it is, baby, please forgive me. I'm a different person now. It's lies. It's a parasite wanting to attach to you. It's just in human realm, it uses something social to do it. That's its evolution. It's evolved to kind of like prey upon your empathy or your kindness or your desire to keep your family together or your nostalgia. I'm really hearing nostalgia for this one. Yeah, they want a reunion, or like think of the happy memories and things. Think about the possibilities. You want happy memories? Spirit's saying you want happy memories? You need to see this clearly. Don't get sucked back in. Don't get sucked back in. Okay. I think that's also meant to just turn your stomach. Like whenever you're looking at this person, you're like, you're literally a parasite that's trying to outrun me. That's trying to like convince me of something. Like I'm hearing, let it gross you out. I just heard let it gross you out. Like whatever you find in that closet too, let it gross you out. Take in the smells, honey. I'm hearing, whoo, that's pungent. Take it all in. Allow it to change you. Allow it to change you. Okay. So moving on. Thank goodness gracious me, oh my. This is something that'll take some time to move on for, but that's part of the destructive storms, because the destructive storm will come in and it'll knock branches down. It'll knock old structures down. It'll get reclaimed by the sea, you know, and you need that. I'm hearing like there's something you need that in this life, like, or in this like kind of a situation. You need certain things to kind of knock down, and it feels like when you open the closet, the storm kind of comes out, like you just get knocked over by like a gust of wind or something. But Spirit's saying, because whatever it feels like, whatever you find in the closet, that's the precipice of like opening the closet. That's what's going to bring the storm energy in, but it's knocking down all these old things so that you can't go re-inhabit the old structures, so that the landscape actually looks different to you than it did before, so that you're not as vulnerable to this person trying to paint it over with whatever rose-colored glasses they're trying to put on you of like, well, remember this and remember that. When you remember those things, you should remember being played and like getting messed with, because that's what was happening. All right. Oh, pile number 3. All right. I love that. Like I literally just clicked the pile number 3 button. So whoever clicks on that is going to be like, for the timestamp, that's going to be a lot for them to walk into. Okay. Oh, my little feetsies. I'm like not very comfortable today because I stuffed myself full of food yesterday. Ugh. All right. Pile number 3. Pile number 3. Pile number 3. Okay, so this is a much different energy. This feels higher. Like this is more like a spiritual perspective I feel is coming in here, where it has to do with the shadow. Interesting. I'm going to put that on the back burner, what I just saw. Okay, well, actually, it's from The Journey Home. Not the Radha Swami book that I'm always mentioning, but there's a movie from like way back in the day called A Journey Home. And it follows animals, Shadow, Chance, and Sassy. Sassy's a cat. Oh, Homeward Bound. Sorry. Okay. So I feel like Homeward Bound. And it has to do with this shadow energy. So I think for a lot of you, this has to do with like shadow work and kind of reframing the way that you're looking at shadow work and reframing the way that you are looking at your own shadow. And yeah, okay, interesting. Because Shadow, the dog in there, is like a golden retriever. So changing the way that you are interacting with your shadow, instead of thinking about it maybe like I don't know, something like scary or like skulking, or like some kind of big, like Cujo, like Shadow in that movie, The Golden Retriever. And he was the wise one too. He was always saying like the very wise things, and he was very calm and he was very measured. And Chance was the younger puppy and he was like all exuberant, right? Instead of looking at the Shadow like it's Cujo energy, like just foaming at the mouth and like, it's Shadow. And Shadow, the Golden Retriever, it's like Hecate. It is the sun in the darkness. Like, and not to be afraid of it, but considering it a source of wisdom and considering it a source of power. But not only that, because what I'm getting from this is like, okay, we got these two diamonds, right? And then we have the place where they connect in the middle, kind of like a Venn diagram. And that, I just heard Zendaya. I don't know if that is connecting with somebody, like something that you saw her in, or she's an example for somebody, or you really resonate with her, but I just heard that. This like middle point here, where it's like where the part where like the light side, the conscious side of self that you are very aware of, and the shadow side, and the place that they overlap. So shadow is not separate from the light. So sometimes whenever we think about doing our shadow work, we think about it as like it's like separate thing. Like, hey, well, now I'm going into the shadow, and it's like the separate thing from the light. In reality, light casts shadow, and it's one and the same. Like if you light a candle, or like the sun is our source of light in our world, right? And if you stand out in the sun, like it just naturally casts a shadow. So they're wanting you to think about the light and the shadow being one, and you uncovering the place where they unlock, or where they like unlocking the place where they like merge together, where your light energy and your shadow energy are actually alchemizing, and like really it's the place where you can tell that it is really just one energy, if that makes sense. And they're also sharing, okay, so they're showing me like the gratitude reading that I just did. So they're saying one thing that you could do as like an exercise, is to re-listen to that gratitude reading, or if you just remember it, about all those are like your light attributes that you're very conscious of. It's your conscious personality, right? And it's all the things that people love and appreciate about you. And think about what shadow that casts, like from your own personality, like the shadow material that would naturally create of things that you yourself are uncomfortable with, or you feel like people don't associate you with, or that they don't value you for. Right? Because we tend to build our personalities, our conscious personalities, out of the things that we were given some kind of feedback for, so we leaned into certain traits and we leaned away from other traits. So think about the shadow. They want you to think about the shadow through the lens of your own light energy, the things that you are actually, that people are very grateful for and that you receive a lot of energy for, right? So you could re-listen to that reading and think, what shadow does this cast, and upon who? And for what reason? Not that you necessarily need to change, but they're just saying as an exercise in self-awareness and self-understanding. Now, I'm also getting this image in my mind about the shadow, okay? Where it's like, I'm picturing a bed sheet. I'm picturing like two parents making the bed, and they put the fitted sheet on there, and now they're getting ready to put the sheet on, and one has one side and the other has the other side. And then I'm seeing a child playfully, like laughing, like come run and jump in the middle of the sheet. So like each of the parents like has one side, and then the kid is like laughing and giggling kind of like in the middle. And they're showing me like the one side is the light side and the other side is the shadow side. So it's a couple of things here in this metaphor. The bed sheet, it's just one bed sheet, right? Like it's still like very much connected, but there's an outside something that has been kind of, I'm hearing the word dampener, or there's something that's like kind of been put on it in order to kind of make it seem like it's separate, but you still know that it's like the same bed sheet, right? If that makes sense. And the child energy is significant as well, because they're saying like it's childhood. It's like the things that we learn in childhood, the traits that we learned in childhood. And again, I'm seeing a very happy family. So I'm seeing like a very fun kid, that's like, they all like each other and they're having fun or whatever. So that develops that child's personality. Like they are happy and they're silly and they came running in out of nowhere to like mess up things, but in a fun, playful sort of way. And that was seen and acknowledged and like encouraged, So again, they're showing those like light things. And then Gemini rules over the child, and again they're showing me the splitting energy of like the light and the shadow. So like things that we learned in childhood, and that's kind of like what's coming through. And I don't know, but it's like you still know that it's the same thing. And then if you want to make the bed, you've got to remove the child, and then like to put it on there in this like integrated fashion. So that's what they're talking about, is like, oh, I'm hearing the shadow already is integrated. It's just a matter of you accepting it, like just accepting your shadow, just sitting with it, just accepting like who it is, where it comes from, why it's there. And just that acceptance of like just sitting with it, And the shadow, I'm also hearing, can like help you get out of a pit, because in the movie Homeward Bound, Shadow, they're all in the pit, right? And Shadow's like the older one and the wiser one, but he's like not a spring chicken, right? So the other two can get out of there, but then they can't get Shadow out, and he broke his paw. And so they ended up like having to leave, but then Shadow ended up getting himself out of there, like when nobody was kind of like watching. And that to me is the energy of Eros. It's the energy of passion, right? That's literally like Eros kind of climbing out. So it's that shadow energy that connects us with our drive and with our passion, where we can connect with like a reservoir of power that we don't know we had. So for some of you, oh, okay, I get it. You're trying to solve a problem, and it's like you're only leading into the traits that you find acceptable. And you think that it's people pleaser energy, I'm hearing. Like only living from your light side is people pleaser energy, because we build our light side out of what people praise in us, or even what we find necessary and effective as well, but it doesn't rock the boat too much, or, those kinds of things. And so it's like you're trying to solve a problem, and you only want to use your light traits to solve it, and you think that makes you like good or positive. Shadow traits are not necessarily like evil traits. So I'm just picturing your shadow side like opening up a toolbox. Oh, I'm picturing them like duct tape, like feeling its fifth chakra stuff, like feeling like it can't talk to you. I'm picturing your shadow feeling like it can't talk to you, but it can show you something. I think it's used, as all of our shadow, it's like used to not being seen, or like, no, you got to get down there, or we're not going to be loved, or we're not going to be able to make it out of the pit. When in reality, it's like those shadow traits, things that you don't associate as being you. It's broadening your definition of who you are. Yeah, that's what it is. In order to get you out of a bind. So there's something here where you're broadening your sense of self. That's the alchemy. Yeah, and I'm just kind of, I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I kind of picture this as like bullet holes. Yeah, and we've been spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Okay, so I'm kind of getting like, we've been living in a gangster's paradise in the sense of like, it's a dog-eat-dog world in a sense, and like, they're showing me just like power games, and like the powerful people rise to the top. They're showing me statistics like how many of the world CEOs are psychopaths and things like that. Like, we've been spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. So it's like keeping you bound, keeping you powerless. Certain traits that have been selected for you. I'm hearing, selected for you. I'm seeing the scene in Devil Wears Prada where the lady, Miss Priestley, the big boss lady, Priestley. She is giving the talk to Anne Hathaway's character. Anne Hathaway giggles like when she's choosing the belts, because she thinks the belts look exactly the same, but there's like a subtle difference, and she thinks that it's frivolous and that blah blah blah. But then Miss Priestley, she gives her this whole lecture of around cerulean blue, and that it was like this big thing in the fashion world, and then they made this from it, and then they made until it finally trickled down, and you think you made a choice, but really that choice was dictated by the people in this room. And that's what I'm getting is like, and I keep hearing that song, Gangster's Paradise. So you think you made a choice about who it is that you are. You think you made a choice about what traits were seen as valuable or acceptable. When in reality, a lot of that choice was made for you. And going back to pile number one, it's something that your emotionality and wanting to be loved and everything just kind of led you into. But again, they're showing me the word bitch mother. And I mentioned this on the channel before of like, this is like, I don't know, like a wolf mother that just like gave birth to her pups, and she's protective and she will eat you. And she has every right to eat you. If you are coming towards her pup, she has every right to defend herself and her pups. But especially that the feminine in all of us, like even if you're a man watching this, like the feminine in all of us has been told that it's wrong to display, like I'm hearing like just baseline traits of basic self-preservation and basic self-defense. You have been convinced to be a doormat so that it's easier for the weasel to get into the chicken coop. Like, yo, this is intense. And so I'm not telling you to like be awful. I'm not telling you to be violent. I'm not telling you to like, that's not what I'm saying here, but I'm saying there's certain personality traits of you just being a bit more formidable, like making up your own mind, or like, like some things that are just basic level self-defense. That's what it is. It's coming across as like basic level self-defense that you were taught are wrong, or are you being aggressive or something, when it's like, you're not being aggressive. Like, it's wrong to think that like that wolf mother is being, she's being aggressive, but she's not being aggressive for the sake of being aggressive. It's contextually appropriate. That's what it is. It's like, it's contextually appropriate. That's what I'm getting. And it's like, but part of that is building up like a mental, like being formidable mentally, where it's like, no, you have to know that you're allowed to defend yourself. That's what this feels like. You're allowed to defend yourself. You're allowed to defend yourself. And part of defending yourself, like, have you ever heard the best defense is a good offense? Part of defending yourself is like considering the way that you put yourself out in the world and not being afraid to be a little bit more Amanda Priestley. Of like, I'm nobody's fool. Don't mess with me. Like, not that you have to go to the extreme. That's the other thing is like, they're saying that we're trying to bring messages towards you. And we're saying, like, again, with the light and the shadow, it's not like, okay, you've been living as one way for your whole life. You need to live the exact opposite way now. That's what shadow work is. That's not what shadow work is. They're saying there's a misconception of that. You need to understand the shadow because it's bringing you more into balance. It's bringing you more into the center. We're not talking in extremes here. And the shadow can be a polarizing thing. And so it's just a clever way of, like, whether you for yourself, like, you hear certain things that people or life in whatever form is trying to bring to your doorstep so that you can integrate your shadow. It's very sane. Okay. It's very middle of the road. It's bringing you where it's pointing out where you are already in an extreme and it's trying to bring you back into balance. But that projection energy, when you're trying to dodge and avoid your shadow, is processing that through the lens of, okay, I'm being asked to exhibit a different extreme here. This is also the type of person where, you know, life is like kind of like a bell curve. So you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and they're like, oh, but this other extreme, it doesn't hold true. Like, yeah. Those are called outliers. And it's also not the conversation we're having. But they're trying to control or dominate in order to not have to confront something within themselves. So you want to watch that. Like when certain messages are coming through. I'm hearing if you're going to be on the spiritual path, and you're not just going to be moving the food around on your plate, you're actually going to be digesting this and integrating this. You cannot, whenever like you are confronted with maybe an extreme message that has to be brought in order to check, to genuinely be able to hold its own against an extreme stance you've already taken, where you're already completely out of balance on the, maybe even the light side of things. You know, you're already so extremely out of balance that you need an extreme check just in order to bring you back in a more centered place. I'm hearing within yourself, but also in the way that you're synthesizing external things. And that is actually the first step that is required in order for you to see the world through a different lens, the appropriate lens, the helpful lens, in order for you to actually gain your bearings and make certain progress and traction in whatever it is that you're trying to solve. So a lot of people think that step one is just looking at the situation and like trying to solve. No, they're saying step one is getting your lens right. And part of getting the lens right is the shadow work, considering what you haven't considered. Considering that maybe you've taken an extreme stance on something. Maybe you have done that. And so when you're asking for help from spirit, you actually need to pull step one back, actually. Because you think that step one, again, is like looking at, well, what do I need to do? Step one is making sure your lens is correct. And where you're off balance or you're off kilter, you need to consider the fact that you have already taken up some kind of an extreme stance. Maybe one that society praises you for. Is what I'm hearing. Maybe one that society praises you for, but is not in truth or in alignment or in harmony with who and what it is that you are. And we have to exclude energies of like, again, just violence, or I'm not talking about that. Like we're talking about, again, in that sweet spot here of like pulling you back into center, pulling you back into balance. And that is integration of the shadow. Is what I'm hearing. That's integration of the shadow. And I'm hearing like you don't understand the way that it affects your lens. This is really about your lens. You don't understand the ways in which you've disavowed certain parts of yourself has tinted your lens. And I'm hearing the word nice. So yeah, it's like you having disavowed certain traits in yourself. You look through the world through the lens of nice, some of you. And then you decide whether or not certain actions are acceptable or not acceptable. So if an action is not considered nice, then you won't take it. And I'm hearing from Mean Girls where I think it's Mean Girls. No, somebody talks about she can only eat cute food. Like, I can't take that to school for lunch because it's not a cute food. And her mom's like, what is a cute food? Like, what am I supposed? Nope, this is a nutritious food, right? So it's like, well, I can't do that because I won't be considered nice or cute or good. And they're saying, but this is what you need to do for goodness. And I always draw this parallel between being nice and being truly good. Because truly good sometimes means that you have teeth and claws and muscle. And you're not to be a lightweight energy in the world. And sometimes, again, through the lens of spirituality, especially women and like feminine forms of spirituality, we so often are, we collude with energies that wish to make us irrelevant. and not a contender in our own lives, and who are really just trying to let the weasel into the hen house. Yeah, is what I'm getting. So yeah, this definitely has to do with shadow integration. And yeah, what light have you cast? I just want to keep bringing that back. They really want this to be like almost a regular exercise that you kind of bring to the forefront. It's like, what is this light energy? How do you consciously relate to yourself in any moment? And what is the shadow energy that then creates? And what exists in the void of that? I'm hearing that it creates a void where things can just kind of exist without your eyes being on them. And it becomes this elephant graveyard. Remember from The Lion King? It becomes this elephant graveyard where you're just not allowed to go. But that's where the hyenas start to live. Oh, and I'm hearing like the heckling energy. So something, yeah, it's like a clever way of getting away with something here. Yeah, nice is overrated. Nice is a garnish. That's, Alex says that. Nice is a garnish. Nice is not unappreciated. Like, we love it when people are nice to us. But don't be, like, it's kind of like what I was getting at in pile number 2. That person is probably very nice, but they're not truly good. They cause a bunch of havoc behind the scenes, and then they use their niceness to excuse that, to make people think that they're good, when in reality, that is a very thin film. Somebody who is just nice and smiley and giggly and people-pleasing, but they don't have a track record of being genuinely good behind them. That is not a person that is good. That's not a person that you want around. That's a devil who has figured out how to get into the hen house. And you have to be able to call it like you see it, I'm hearing. That's the other thing. You have to be able to call it like you see it. You got to be able to call a spade a spade. Also, some of you have a protector function that you're dropping and you don't even realize it. It's like for yourself, I think. Potentially for yourself or for your home, for your sanctity, for your kids. There's a protector function that you are dropping. And that's going back to pile number 1, because you are being asked to sacrifice in places you shouldn't be. And you accept that because you think that you need to be nice. Or you accept that other people get to define you. Yes, other people mirror back, but you have other mirrors. A tyrant will say that they are the only mirror. I'm mirroring you back, and aren't you a spiritual person? And shouldn't you take that into consideration? You and the 100 other people in my life. You are one mirror, and I have other people who also mirror me back. And a lot of them are healthy. So that tyrant is trying to control the way that you see yourself. And there's a protector function that's being dropped here, for sure. I'm hearing the gates of Camelot. Camelot cannot flourish if it has no gates. Remember I was talking about the parasite energy that tries to outrun you? Everybody's just going to kind of come in and take all of the things that you're trying to build for yourself if you don't have a protector function. This is like keeps coming back to you have every right to protect yourself and the people that you love. They throw God in my face. Yes. And it's not God that's throwing you, like they're taking something that they have identified means something to you and they're trying to weaponize it and use it against you. This happens to me in the comment section. The people that come for me, a lot of the people that I read for are very intelligent and like they're kind of next level, but the gross people that find themselves here are also that same way. It's just for like the other team, you know? And it's been a big lesson that I've had to learn is like, you need to self-select out of this group if you really feel that way about me or about anything else. Like you need to self-select out because again, I get a lot of other mirroring that is, oh no, this is actually helpful. So they try to make me feel bad and they try to make me internalize some kind of guilt or shame. It's really gross and insidious. And I feel like some of you could be dealing with this like in your own life. Yeah, Catherine said, as if God will come down and save them. Like what that brings up for me too is like, I actually feel like God tries to do that, but it's like through life. God works through life and the experiences that we're having. But it's like building certain things up, knocking certain things down. It's not just coming down and snapping your fingers and like changing that. I came to a conclusion early on in my life that God doesn't break her own rules. God set up the system here, the natural system of like, you know, it rains and then the plants grow and then the storms come in and it's daytime and then it's nighttime. All of that is God expressing. And you just have to like get comfortable and understand that. Oh yeah, and okay. Yeah, the truth is, okay, you don't want to get people in your circle that you can't build with. people that are going to keep you like questioning things, people that have completely different values than you. This is where like you need to see the truth of it, because some of you have things to build. We all do, right? Whether it's like ourselves, our families, whatever, that are in alignment with spirit, and we're all meant to have a different expression. Everybody, you know, imagine if every single animal that you saw outside was a squirrel. That was it. Like the food chain wouldn't be in balance. It wouldn't work. So the squirrel doesn't need the muskrat to tell it it's okay that it exists, right? So you need to stop looking for other people to say, like, your existence doesn't have to make sense to other people, but as long as you're not hurting anyone, right? And that's much different than the natural way of things, okay? Because certain things are natural predators to squirrels, and it's easy to turn around and be like, you're hurting me, when in reality, there's certain things that are meant to happen here. Again, Westerners are very, very touchy with like, they think nothing bad should ever happen to them. And that if it does, it can only be abuse, or it can only be something bad. Because we're really out of touch with like just the basic, like fundamental, like truth and reality. And we don't have enough voices that help us parse the two out of like something necessary but bad happening. So yeah, you just don't want to get people in there that are fundamentally like different from you. It's just going to cause you anxiety and erode that. So that's what I feel like. That's the message I have for you guys. Pile number 3 is this like shadow integration, and what is your light energy and what is your shadow energy, and just considering your light to understand your shadow and knowing that they're one and the same. The shadow does not exist separate from the light. It's not its own like contained energy. Actually, I'm hearing like, if you want, like, say you're sitting in a dark room and there's a candle in front of you, okay, like on an oil lamp, let's say, and your shadow is being cast against the wall. If you want to change the shadow, what do? You adjust the light. You adjust the light, and that's what changes the shadow. So play around with the light. Like, you don't only change the shadow by going into the shadow or dealing with the shadow. It can actually be very frustrating. You change it with the light, with what you're consciously expressing and not expressing. So when you start to express some of those shadow traits, the light goes up or it goes down, and it changes the way that the shadow looks, if that makes sense. And I'm also hearing from the Taylor Swift song, the monsters turned out to be just trees. When the sun came up, you were looking at me. The monsters turned out to be just trees. But it's the shadow of the trees that makes it like all scary and stuff. But in the light, you can clearly see that it's just a tree. And that goes into the closet that I feel like some of you guys are trying to open in pile number 2. So that's what I have for you guys. Leaving Plato's cave. I'm so glad, Lainey. Okay, nice. I think I haven't seen what's going on, but I know some of you guys are talking about Jung. I love Jung, and I think somebody, I don't know, like from what I can pick up, it seems like somebody is like very scared of his works. Can I tell you, for my birthday one year, I got the red book, okay? Because it's like it used to be really expensive at least. And Carl Jung to me is like one of the bravest. He's such a Hecate kind of an individual of I will go into the shadow. He like locked himself in his home for like, I want to say a decade, if not more. In the tower, he would like scribbling on the walls and stuff. That's what he wrote the red book, which is just this deep peer into the shadow, into the psyche, and it is terrifying. Okay. And I like to consider myself pretty formidable when it comes to like spirituality. Like, yeah, I find it valuable. I think we need to look at it. I haven't been able to finish that book. Like, I've read up to certain portions and then I get scared and then I'm like, nope. And then like I have to put it down. But like usually gives me kind of something to like sort of think about or whatever. But I feel like that man is like so brave to the point of like, no way. Like, I can't believe he got in there and he was able to like point out all of that stuff, because I can't even read it without like getting completely scared and terrified and viewing myself as a child, like in the face of it all, you know, like I really like admire and respect his ability to do that so much. So if you're scared of like whatever he like brought forth, me too. Like, it's so crazy. Okay, so shall we move on to I am having to go to the bathroom, but I'm not going to get up and go because I feel like I can probably just like make it through this. So this will probably be a quick one for I used to be like, I start these off being so scared of like, maybe this is like something to do with the shadow work too. I start these off being so scared and I'm like, oh, my anxiety. And by the end, I'm like, I have to pee so bad. And like, okay. So, I I transmute it like a garbage disposer, Catherine said. That is quite an analogy. Okay, so. Oh. All right. So Spirit, what do you want to talk about with the collective that is here? Keep in mind, these are general messages for a large group of people, and I run a channel where usually I do 3 different piles. So the people who are drawn in here are used to being cared for in 3 different piles. So sometimes the general message may resonate with you. It may come through for somebody else. So again, just like everything, use your discernment about whether or not this general message is coming through for you or not. Cock-a-doodle-doo, bitch. Okay, sorry. Nice. Okay, so what do you want to talk to the collective about, Spirit? Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is definitely a family situation that's coming up, and I've been getting this a lot. Spirit's been really kind of going in on this. Look, we've got the happy family, we've got the kids, and then we've got the grief card. Some of you, I think it's just grieving the image of like the happy family. There's something here about like transmutation. Oh my gosh, look, the 10 of Swords. Some of you guys need to make a decision. 2 10s. That's making some kind of final decision here about people, places, and things. Not being, in order to transform yourself here. There was manipulation in the past. Like that's plain. And if you don't see that clearly, then it's going to affect your decision making. There's something here that you need to grieve, because something here that was built upon was not built upon in an earnest, integral, or honest way. Not necessarily from you, but it's like, I think that you were being lied to. And for some of you, it's just this like image of the happy family in and of itself is a lie. But it's like chasing this is actually hurting you in some way. There was manipulation here. And some of you, I feel like, have been betrayed. And you maybe very badly. It could have also been over a period of time. I think somebody here could even be like saying things about you. Queen of Swords. Like, you thought that this person was your happy. Look at this. Oh my gosh. The 4 of Wands, the 10 of Pentacles. You thought this person was your happy marriage partner, whatever, that there was just like a lot of pure love there. But then behind all of it was what? The 7 of Swords. This is the closet that you guys are peering into. And now, like, this is a definite. We've got 3 10s here. This is like a definite decision that needs to be made here. I feel like it feels like on a person's character that was very manipulative, and then everything that you built after that point was just built on a manipulation and on a deception. And I'm hearing just like, I was really made. Like, some of you need to just kind of like get comfortable with that. I keep picturing this old relationship that I was in, where it's like I really did have to come to terms with that. And maybe I don't want to say it now though. Like, sometimes I'm like more and more getting called to like say certain experiences in my life. But I'll tell you, the first time I ever heard God had to do with a breakup in a situation, and we never fought ever. And I literally was like, oh my gosh, is that you? And it was just like, break up with so-and-so. And I feel like it was a person like this. And I got so much clarity after that about every single thing that was like kind of going on. And I feel like that's what's going to happen for you too. It's like, there's just a lot of clarity in realizing that it was all a lie. Like, and dealing with the shame of it, because I feel like you got taken in by a charlatan, and sometimes it happens, like happens to the best of us. And if somebody, I always say this, like if somebody is set out to try to, hide certain things, and there's real strategy involved here, and just coldness, and but then you are the feeling person here, and then you feel like ashamed, and it's also because you have these values, and this other person doesn't. This other person is just a schemer. They're just a schemer, and they want to stay stuck. Whoever this is, they want to stay stuck, and I'm just seeing this person is full of deflection, and they might use like teamwork. Oh, well, we're going to build, or like, in order to do it, but this person is full of deflection. And they're potentially keeping you from like a happy, mutual, reciprocal union. And they're keeping you feeling stuck. And this person's not connected with their intuition, but I think that they have this ability, this effect on you where it cuts you off from your own intuition, which is, again, making you feel more impotent. So it's like, and I think the tarot is really coming in to assist with this, because tarot is like, oh no, because I think some of you have very powerful intuitive ability, and tarot is like, no, my babies, like, and has come in to really say like, this is connecting you with your intuition, because I think that you are probably drawn to different readers and stuff that are reflecting back that like reverse gaslighting. I'm hearing like reversing the effects of gaslighting and just letting you know that like, actually, no, this is real. And actually, no, you have every right to like stand up for yourself. And they're drawing you into spiritual groups and communities that are also reflecting them back. Like, no, you don't have to accept this. You don't have to be lied to. And then once, yeah, like, I feel like there's a decision. There could be an argument. I'm really getting this could be like court or something, and there's an argument. Maybe you feel like this person is going to start an argument within a friend group or something, but this person's already been doing this. This person, I think, has potentially been, like, if this is who I think you're dealing with here, that 10 of Swords, like, I'm just picturing, like, each one of those swords is, like, a little lie here, a little lie there. They've just sort of been setting up the dominoes, like, while you were building your life or your family and you were la-di-da, this person was just sort of setting up the dominoes to suggest to this friend group that you aren't who you say you are. You're being betrayed, like, on a regular basis. You can probably feel this. And it seems small, but I think some of you need to make a decision here. And the decision might cause an argument. Yes, there is flying monkeys here. That's what the three, yeah. Narcissists create little nests of flying monkeys. People that are people pleasers. They are pushovers. Or people that they keep in the dark about certain things that they know won't question them. And because if you show yourself to be formidable, to have a mind of your own, to not be buying their bullshit, then they'll try to smear campaign you probably. Or they'll try to get you out. Like, you can't stay around a narcissist if you are, this is safe, this is good for you, this is a win for you. If a person like this can't be around you, doesn't choose you as their partner, this is a win for you. It's a win for you. Tears from a broken heart. And this is like, it's going to lead to clarity. It's going to be a new beginning. And for those of you who are worried about if your children are going to thrive or not, this is the sun. Your kids are going to be happy. And it's like, I think you can provide some kind of a safe haven. I don't think you realize to the extent your children feel walked on and they feel they're being wounded in the mind. You don't understand this. So again, some of you, it's like you don't want to be that parent that feels like you are just a bystander in your own life. I don't think you understand this. And it's actually going to give them a place to heal, to grow, to change their perspective on things. For some of you, it's like just seeing you, again, be independent, take charge of your own life. You have no idea the effect that that's going to have on these kids long term. And also some of you are going to get in another relationship here, and that will be happy because you will be healed when you enter that relationship. It won't be, you won't be taken in by another charlatan because you'll be able to pick up on those red flags and you just won't settle for that. That will be immensely healing for this child. And also, I just feel like they're going to have healthy social dynamics modeled for them. And this is healing. This is healing. It is happy. And some of you, it's like it's you. I feel like you're romancing. This almost feels like a Western to me. Like the men, like John Wayne in the Western. And I grew up in a family where like the guys all fancy themselves like a John Wayne, like he's just got all of it together. He's just like, So some of you are like romancing this version of yourself in your mind. You want your children or something to see you as having your shit all together. Save that for the strangers. Okay. It's okay for strangers to think you have your shit together, but your family, there's no sense of intimacy in this family unit. If you're putting on a show for your kids, what? like, yes, I'm hearing your kids will naturally respect and love you because you're their parent and you're taking care of them. Like, there's a different way to build this where you get to be a person. And that's actually like way more immensely helpful than trying to like, it's the separate thing with the shadow that I was trying to describe to you before, where it's like, knowing how things should look and then just trying to make it look that way instead of figuring out how to get yourself to that place genuinely. And kids watching you, because you're just a kid that grew. You're just a big kid. It might be helpful for you to think of yourself in that way, in the sense of like you're always learning, that beginner's mindset. Not that you are immature or underdeveloped, but just that you're always that childlike attitude of like, what is this? Can I put it in my mouth? Can I like whatever. But the adult version of that is immensely helpful for kids to see their parents in that energy. It teaches them so much more. It's an integrated approach. I'm hearing do as I say, not as I do. Like for some of you, you grew up in a household like that where it's like you think that your kids are buying the image that you're putting forth when in reality they're picking up on a lot more that's like behind the scenes, even if it's not explicitly said. You need those two things to come together with the shadow energy. You need to be like expressing maturity. I'm hearing like they need to see an emotionally like healthy, mature parent who is a contender in their own life and makes decisions. And that, I feel these children will have, that's why they need to have you as a parent. Like your karma, the things that you're learning for yourself. This is like healing family trauma. This is cycle breaker energy. These kids will, I think, like all humans do, they're going to come up with an impasse in their own life where they're going to need to make a decision like this. And more than any advice that you could verbally tell them on a very two-dimensional surface level thing, watching you do this will be the elixir they need to get them through this moment in their own life. There's nothing you could ever say to this child that will be more potent than watching you go through this. And to an age-appropriate level, sharing your experiences. Life isn't all sunshine and roses, sweetie. Sometimes we think things are going to work out one way and they work out another way. And that's okay. And we need to be, I feel like I'm talking to your inner child. Maybe some of you have never had anybody say this kind of thing. And yeah, Spirit's saying you've never had somebody say this kind of thing to you. But when I just said that to you, of sometimes things don't go as planned. Okay, and we don't need to moralize it. And it's not your entire identity. And it's hard. It sucks. Okay, but it is what it is. And it was what it was. And we're going to heal. We're going to grieve that. We have to let go of the things that are false. We don't want to cling to false foundations. It will always hurt you in the long term to hold on to a lie. You need a parent that understands that and can turn that into action. And some of you, it's like nothing will ever be like, that's such a source of comfort of, oh, now I don't have to be perfect. I don't think, some of you are actually passing on this like disease of perfectionism to a child. You're not trying to, but you're saying, it's like you're talking on both sides of your neck. Like, it's okay to make mistakes, but then you won't like let your guard down or like, to this thing for you where you feel like this definitely feels like generational trauma that I feel like you're interceding. You're being asked to. Remember, this is reminding me of like another reading that I did where I was like, this family will continue to produce cycle breakers. So like your child is going to have to confront this if you don't. I mean, they probably will anyways, but it's like, are you going to be the one to break it? Like, who's going to be the one to break it? You're at a very significant crossroads. And they want you to have a spiritual perspective on this. And by the way, I'm not trying to muscle you into leaving a good relationship. Okay. Like if you're here, it's, you're in a situation, you're clinging to it for all the wrong reasons, out of a sense of image, not out of wanting to give a good example. But I think you're confusing what the good example is. You want to be a good wife, husband, whatever. Okay. And take this. This is like the best piece of thing that I always think about in my own mind. Being a good whatever, teacher, husband, wife, student, always starts with just being a good human. Always just starts with being a good human. Be a good human. Meet your life like, meet your life, like a human meets their life. Not as what should a wife do? What would a good person do in this, kind of a thing. Like shifting that perspective. Because you want to do well, you want to do good, but you're trying to control your image, And we can't control that. We can't control how certain people see us, but we can control living from an authentic, genuine place. I'm the proof that it can be transmuted. Yes. Yes. Oh, I'm glad, Brianna. Yes, this is like, and I think some of you need to kind of in your own mind replay what I just said of like, sometimes things don't work out and that's okay. Sometimes we're afraid and that's okay. But we rise, still we do. Still we go after the things that we want. And the things that we believe in. And it can be hard to try to live your values. And sometimes we have multiple values and we can't live out all of them. Yes, I have a value. I really, really wanted to keep our family together. But it was costing me too much because I wasn't living my like authentic experience. Age appropriate conversations. You can help these children understand your life. You are a teacher to them as like a living example, like helping them understand your life, your decisions. You step into your power. I don't know how you're synthesizing this as some kind of weakness, like in your mind. Like, I don't know the specifics of that, but I'm literally seeing you, a phoenix, like jump into the fire and then emerge as the Queen of Wands. And you have to know that will speak for itself. Even if as soon as you do it, you might be in the lowest place of your life. Maybe, you're eating ramen and you're living in an apartment when you're used to living in a house or something. And it looks bad, like right out the gate, but it's a process unfolding and you will be the Queen of Wands. And as your children continue to grow, they're going to have a parent who's in the Queen of Wands energy. And I'm hearing it's worth its weight in gold. It's worth its weight in gold. Because you will have gone through the things that they're trying to do. So the advice that you have to give them is going to come from a genuine place. I'm hearing some of you need to think of your kids as like adults in training. And they're going to have these moments, these emotional moments, and you don't need to, we don't want you giving them advice from a two-dimensional perspective. We want you to have lived it. And that's how you're going to be able to even assist your children in like a real way. Yeah. So let me just, mine's an adult. Yeah. Mother and baby daddy told him. Yeah. I am the cycle breaker in my line. Yeah. Being what you want to be is its own reward. Not saying it's easy. That's so true. Look, dating. Some of you are like worried about dating, new options, getting back on the market. Okay, but okay, don't live a double life though. It's like, it's better than, it's certainly more moral than like living a double life. Or just watch out for this. Like, just watch out for the same kinds of traps, you know, allowing your desire energy to be used against you by not integrating that shadow. What is a double life? Guilt. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It says like, okay, limelight, audience, self-absorbed. But this, to me, it's like the way you put yourself forward. You're living a double life. That's what I'm getting. This is giving me shadow energy. Okay, I get it. Shadow energy, but the shadow's not integrated. You play out your shadow in one aspect of your life, and then you position yourself as who you are. And I don't know how many of you are not honest with yourself that you are not this image that you are putting out to the world. You're just not. And it's going to come out, I think, like maybe slowly. And it's eating you alive, like with the guilt potentially. And you need to contemplate about this. This isn't, maybe it hasn't been the goal. Like if this superficial stuff is the goal and it's like, you'll keep this together above all else. This is devil energy, right? The quick fix, the Band-Aid fix. Because you can actually fix this and live the life that you want and be the person that you genuinely want if you integrate. Like if you actually integrate your shadow, if you concern yourself first and foremost, if your primary goal is to be an integrated, whole, happy, genuinely successful person. But when I say successful person, I'm not talking about the spotlight and how it is that you come off and what kind of house you come into. I'm talking about a broad definition of what a successful person is. Somebody who is emotionally well-balanced. Somebody who has a good relationship with their kids genuinely. That is not doing this weird like living everything from these two-dimensional archetypes or roles that you think you're supposed to. Like I'm hearing these roles need to come alive within you. It's not just a matter of, because I feel like it feels like you're keeping all these balls up in the air. They're not balls. These things are not balls. Having a good relationship with your kids and stuff. This comes up through you. This is the phoenix. This is what needs to die, is this worldview that is very devoid of your own personhood. I feel like a lot of you, you know, I'm hearing the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so it's like we had religious leaders and parents and stuff in the past that were like, they had learned from their mistakes and their pitfalls. So they passed down this like wisdom. Okay, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. This will kind of avoid that. But not realizing that each of our journeys has to be our own. And that that makes sense to them because they lived a certain experience, you know, and it's just pressure from the outside. Then it's like tyrannical, and people are not actually like, I feel like you've kind of fallen prey to this where it's like, it's not living wisdom for you. It's just this tyrannical force on the outside. And that's where it becomes these balls that you're just juggling. Like this, it becomes this like devoid checklist. It was never meant to be that way. Life is not meant to be that way. It's meant to assist you in being the best person that you can be. Cold shoulder, breakup, distance, separation. I think that for some of you, look, we've got twin flame, 1111, runner, chaser, divine timing. Some of you, it's like being this way is actually what's led you away from your twin flame. And I've seen this in other readings that I've done where it's like this like whole false facade is what draws the karmics in. They're like, ooh, you got everything on a material level that I could possibly want. And your twin flame is like, you know, or your soulmate is like, how boring. Like they're attracted to the authenticity of you, the real you. Look. Love addiction, drama, addictions, love-hate relationships. So I think I'm going to leave that there because I really do need to go to the bathroom and then go to the Chipotle. Nice. Yeah, like some of you, it's like, what are you defending? Ask yourself what you are defending. And then cut out what no longer serves you. And you need to be ruthless. You need to be genuine. You need to be honest. You need to be logical about whatever this is. Don't, like, I'm hearing like the feelings of that are lower vibrational, guilt, shame, not being enough. There's other feelings there of like the hope of being who it is that you possibly could be. The disappointment that you always have to stuff yourself into a shoe. Like there's a lot more going on beneath the surface here that's just not being acknowledged. And I think there's a way that this is actually getting passed on to your kids in a way that you don't understand. They're being wounded because they're not allowed, the same way that you were not allowed and invited to step into your own human nature. And then all the lessons become very much alive and purposeful and meaningful for you. I think you could be actually mimicking that experience that you had as a child, even though the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't think you mean to, but I think it's, again, becoming this very tyrannical force from the outside. And it doesn't make any sense because it's not coming up through the child. Thank you so much, Catherine, for the $50. It's not coming up through the child in their actual personal experiences that they're dealing with. It's just this outside force of you better be this or you better be that or else, in order to save face or in order to do this. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for showing up to this witchy live stream. That's all I have for you guys. Okay, bye.